All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune on in. We have a very special guest here in the building to talk about Umar Johnson's dissertation, which is a document that has been very difficult to find. A lot of people have been looking for many, many years. And to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time that we've had someone not only acquire it, but then present it here in video format during a live stream. And Brother Jason, his previous YouTube page, most of us, we know him by the Dear Woke Christian. Now it's JWhit, the JWhit podcast.
Okay.
He's here to break all of this down. Without any further ado, let's bring the brother on. Welcome, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us here today.
Grace and peace, friend. It's been a blessing to hang out with you. Oh, wait. I got to get my proper greeting. All right, so piece of scam Africanism in honor of Umar Johnson. Piece of scam Africanism. I don't know why my kids had this. I thought it was funny. But yo, man, thank you so much for having me, man. I was pleasantly surprised when I sent you that email and you said, no, I've never seen that document. I said, oh man, it's off to the races. But thank you so much for having me, man, for sure.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you for the work that you've been doing on Umar and other topics too. And when you sent it to me, I was kind of surprised because normally when people come up on that type of information, they want to keep it for themselves. But
well, first of all, I found information that I thought was new to me and come to reach out with somebody and say, hey, have you seen XYZ? Oh yeah, I talked about that 2 years ago. Or, oh yeah, man, that's old news. I'm like, dang, thought I was doing something new. But this one right here, because so many people have been asking about Umar's actual credentials.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we got to find this. We got to. Come on, man. We've got to put the collective minds of the interweb together and figure this out. So I went down the rabbit trail and lo and behold, there was a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Okay. How did you come about this? What was the process for you?
Okay. Absolutely. Great question. So today's Thursday. I think it was Saturday. I believe it was your show. And I was like, where did Umar go to school? I said, because we're watching the train wreck of what's the FDMG. I said, man, how crazy would it be if he was not actually a doctor? And so I went down the rabbit trail, the most dead end trails that people did. They went to the Philadelphia College of Medicine and looked on YouTube for the graduation. No go. They went and looked for the commencement. No go. I went to who I call my office assistant, ChatGPT, and I asked them, can they help me? What is the steps? I might have to show you. I said, hey, what are the steps for getting a doctorate from the PCOM? And he explained to me, I said, okay, so what would I need to do if I wanted to see a dissertation from PCOM? And it explained. I said, okay. And it took me to the same dead website that everybody went to because everybody's typing in Umar Johnson. And I don't remember how, and I have to go back and look at my notes, how I came up with Umar Abdullah Johnson. Oh, I said, look at the commencement. Who in here is named Johnson? Anybody in the whole program? And they showed me these names. I said, tell me about this person right here. And the person had a dissertation. I said, wait, is Umar Abdullah Johnson? Okay, maybe we might be cooking with something. Can you show me that dissertation? No dissertation there. I said, oh, so no commencement, no video, no dissertation. He's got to be a phony. I said, no, I got another idea. Why don't I just email the school? Because you have to have access to their dissertations. So if you were Dr. LenonHonor, we should be able to see your dissertation. Dr. Phil, fill in the blanks, right? Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, don't go look hers up. Anyway, I said, let me reach out to the school. And I emailed them on Monday.
Okay.
And Tuesday afternoon, the gentleman just replied back. And I think I forwarded you the email that he sent me. It was very straightforward. He's like, here it is. Have a great day. It's like 3 lines. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I opened up like, this is his dissertation. I was like, wow. And so I think the reason why most people haven't been able to find him is he goes by a bunch of different names.
Yes.
Like he just makes up a new name every other Tuesday. He comes up with a different name. And I'm not saying not every other Tuesday, but pretty much, twice a month. And so lo and behold, that's how I got his dissertation.
Mm-hmm. And so the name that you requested, let me pull up the dissertation here, and most people have not seen it. This is the name that's on the dissertation. Can you see that?
Yeah. Umar Abdullah Johnson.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about this online about Umar, offline before we started here. Well, online,
sure.
but off the live stream. And we talked about Umar. He has so many different aliases, and this is one of them.
I don't understand it. I'll be honest with you. He kind of reminds me of like when we were in high school and we would call ourselves a name. Like this is my basketball name or my football name or whatever. It's like he makes up a name for everything. Like this is my physics class name, and this is my name, and this is the name I call myself at lunch. I don't understand it because I think you mentioned at least a dozen, if not more, names that he goes by. The same thing applies to the school. The school has different names, even under their billing status. I don't know what that's for. I have no idea what the benefit is of creating all these names and aliases. Again, I can understand, if you had like, you call yourself Dr. Honor here on your podcast. I mean, that would make sense because it's your little branding as for your show. But if you're like Dr. Honor at home and then at the store, you big L when you're down the street. And I mean, L Boogie when you're over at Kroger. The big H at Publix. Like, why are you doing this? What's going on? For the life of me, I don't understand.
Yeah. And I just for the record, Umar was born as Jermaine Shoemake. His father changed his name at a certain point when he was young. I have the actual information I can show, but Umar's full legal name is Umar Ibn Rashad Abdullah Johnson. But what I have found, and obviously you found in your research, is that Umar, he has so many different names. He interchanges these. So he'll have Umar Johnson. He'll have Umar Abdullah Johnson. He'll have, I've seen him with Umar Rashad Johnson, and he just mixes them up over and over again.
Yeah. And having four names is just like three cards. He's just pulling names out of the sky. Like, what are you going to call yourself? It is super confusing. I think that's why it was difficult to find him. Still haven't seen the commencement video, but I do believe he was in the commencement program. And of course, this is how we ended up finding his dissertation. So,
okay, well, let's get into the dissertation. Okay. And so let me pull this back up, and I know you've taken notes. I have stuff that's highlighted. I don't have a lot, but before we do this, what were your general impressions of the dissertation as you read through it?
Great point. Immediately, there were some things that stood out to me. Again, it's scholarly in his writing, which I did not expect it to be. However, it's extremely, I believe it starts out with a bad premise because it's using grades in middle school as a foundation for what's called the harder assessment from 1985 or something of that nature.
Yep. Here it is.
That's what he's using to drive his discussion. And I'm not a big proponent of the way I feel about myself is a good measure for the way the world should be. And I feel like that's really the foundation of this argument. And if you kind of listen to Jermaine and Umar, whatever you want to call him this week, you kind of notice that, like, I need to feel a certain way, not the world is a certain way. I must deal with the world in the way that it is versus I must create some world that makes me feel a certain way. a.k.a. my Philadelphia Africans, my Atlanta Africans, not that, but rather I need to deal with the world as it actually is, not try to create a world that caters to the way I feel about myself.
And that ties to this whole idea of self-esteem. As I was reading it too, I could kind of identify parts where it's like Umar projecting his own insecurities.
Oh yeah, once you get past the, I forgot exactly where his, we'll get to it. The beginning of it is really just some heady studies and analytics as it relates to his testing of his hypothesis. But after you get there, it is the impacts of racism on education. It starts around page 45, and it is off to from there. So really, the the heavy lifting and the things that are kind of like, okay, this is actually kind of deep, is really pages like 3 through 44. After that, it is all Projectionville. We are just we're just creating our own adventure. I do want to say this. Because I mistakenly, when I first got this document, I looked at the length of it and I immediately said, "Oh, it's junk." I think I even might have said that to you in email. Like, oh, it's too short. It's only this many pages. I went and looked at some other people's dissertations as well, and that's not actually uncommon.
Okay.
I have a family member. I read their dissertation. It's like 90 pages. It's only a couple pages longer than this. So, and this person went to a very reputable college. So it's not, it is on the college though. Now that's the other thing. The college or institution kind of determines how long they're expecting it to be. So if they're fine with an 82-page dissertation and it meets all of their standards and checks all their boxes for providing a good research or study, it's 85 pages. If, JWhit University wants you to have a 200-page and you got to have this many citations and so on and so forth, you better have a 200-page if you want a doctorate from JWhit University. So I do want to, correct that, because I was kind of harsh, I think, in my opening when I emailed you. I was kind of harsh, like, oh, this is garbage. No, it's not.
Okay. And so that just goes to show you all that Brother Jay, he's fair.
I try to be fair, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. I'm trying to pull up something else too, because when we were talking about Umar's name and all the different aliases on his degrees, the 3 degrees that he's actually shown over the years, he has 3 different names on the degrees. Yes. So if I find it, I'll pull it up during this live stream. I'm actually looking through my notes right now.
I have the, is it the graduation verification form? And I think that might have also been another indicator of how I got his, how I got to the degree. Yeah, because his name is on there. And I don't see it right here, but I will find it before the night's over with.
Okay. I'll keep looking too on mine as we go through this. Okay. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and start getting into this dissertation. I'll pull it up here. Again, this is PCOM. That's the college that Umar went to. He picked up a master's degree there as well. And the title of this is Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, Department of Psychology. Here's the title of his dissertation: The Relationship Between Self-Concept and Academic Achievement in African-American Middle School Students, a Correlational Study. And then there's his name, at least the name he's using here, by Umar Abdullah Johnson, submitted in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Psychology. And then notice the date there, June 2012.
I love it.
Is there anything here that you want to point out in your notes?
No, all I wanted, and I had already talked about it, was his name, and just the use of many names. Yeah, I want to talk about, when you go to the next page, looks at his dedications. He shouts out his mom. He shouts out his stepfather. And I think that's good. He did a great job of calling it out. So you see that his mom's name is Barbara Shoemake. And of course, we know him as Jermaine Shoemake. I thought that was cool. They at least pulled him out. He mentions a lot of people as it relates to like Sabrina Tate and Tamara Thomas Smith and Kimberly Mitchell for their support in this process. Lots of things to King, Dr. Leofus Shakespeare King. I tried to look that person up. I couldn't find it. These are all of his professors related to his doctorate program. So I thought he was pretty fair, giving credit to them and acknowledging them, giving them flowers, if you will. So, shout out to that. The abstract, if you're familiar with this, and this is where, and me and you kind of talked about this, this is where it kind of gets interesting, because throughout this whole document, there are a lot of references. There are a lot of, as you see these little brackets, Coakley, 2003, then there's another one, so on and so forth. There's a lot of them, but he really doesn't use a lot. He makes a lot of references, but there's not a lot of references. And what I mean by that is he uses Coakley a lot. He uses another gentleman, Kufu, a lot. But the other ones, he might use 1 or 2 others, but there's not a ton of references in here. He just quotes the same people over and over and over again. And you kind of mentioned it, that it didn't look like a lot of independent thought. And I do think that's fair to pick at and say, yeah, there's not a lot of independent thinking as relates to what do I believe about this, or what are my thoughts about this. It's more like, what is Lenon's thoughts on this? What is the JWhit's podcast feelings about this, versus this is where I come from on that.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, I was quite surprised because Umar's so opinionated these days. After reading this, I didn't walk away with the sense. Or let me say this first. I'm fair with Umar. I was not impressed with this at all. And the thing, when I walked away from it, I didn't feel as if I had learned anything, and that Umar had presented any information that I was like, wait a minute, Umar really knows what he's talking about from an independent thinker. I just didn't get that. I didn't get that at all. Yeah. And
because I don't want to just like say, oh, don't even worry about the study aspect of it. Honor, we can jump right on over to page 44.
You're right.
Because I think without reading through the whole thing, because it does get a little bit eye blurring, it to your point, this is not really, you're not learning something new. Let me give you an example. One of my daughter's friends is a 17-year-old boy, and he really is passionate about Rome. Like, why a little black boy is passionate about Rome, I don't understand. He wrote this book, and I told my daughter, because I read a book a week, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna pick up Chuka's book. He's like, Dad, you really want to read that? I said, sure. Let me tell you, by the third page, this gentleman has me fully convinced that he is passionate about Rome. Stopped learning something since I picked this book up. There's so much. And again, I'm not passionate about Rome. I'm not going to be running around here in a toga next week or anything of that nature. But I'm like, this kid is passionate about this. If this was and fun fact, it's like 90 pages. So it's going to be his dissertation. But my point again is he's passionate about it. You would not read this book, Lenon, and say, I didn't learn nothing. You'd be like, Jason, bro, my brain's about to explode. I'm learning a whole lot about about the system of rule in ancient Rome. I didn't know I was actually interested in it. And my daughter's like, Dad, what do you think about it? He wants to know what you think about it. I said, it's not my jam, but I'm gonna finish it. And I'm learning a lot about ancient Roman politics in the system. Like, I didn't know I would care about it. Why? Because this guy knows something about it. He really is passionate about it. So back to the point, and we've said this ad nauseum, Umar Johnson doesn't come across like he's passionate about the education of young black boys in the inner city, in the country, or anywhere, to be honest with you. He does seem like he's passionate about some other things, but we'll save those for after dark. But here, it doesn't seem like he's passionate about it because it doesn't come across in the writing. It doesn't come across in his. You can say you're interested in the education of black boys, but when I'm watching you on the Joe Budden podcast, I hear you talking about this. You can say you're passionate about this, but I watch you on Don't Call Me White Girl podcast. You talking about a whole bunch of stuff that I don't even think we need to be listening to.
That's real talk.
But yeah, I'm like, and you want me to send our boys here? You want me to send this dude to your school? Bro, like, he don't come back with cases, my guy. So reading his writing doesn't come across like a passionate educator. And I've said this before as a former classroom teacher myself. He doesn't come across like somebody, teachers. Everybody who has a teacher in their family knows, like, man, Grandma Betty was supposed to be a teacher from the day go. Or cousin this and that was supposed to be a teacher from the word go. They're always talking about education. They're teaching their dogs and trying to teach the cat and trying to train the goldfish. They're always trying to educate somebody. And they come across like this is what they're about. This is in their DNA. But that's not the case with Umar by any means or measure. It seems like he's just somebody that likes to talk. And I've joked about it. I say he probably would be a better stand-up comedian than he would be any kind of educator, because he can be pretty funny. Yeah, but I digress. So here, looking at his writing, I'm with you 100%. It doesn't come across like somebody who's passionate about it. And I'm going to read what you said right here. Self-concept and academic achievement in middle school and African-American children. I'm sorry. Let me back up to We're going to analyze and determine if they revealed any specific cultural information that could provide additional insight into the relationship between self-concept and academic achievement in middle schoolers and African-American children. I still don't get and don't believe that he is passionate about this topic. And I know that sounds bad, and somebody gonna get into feelings about it, but show me where Umar comes across like he's really about this. And I think we would know this because he never did anything related to that school, like a after-school program, Saturday enrichment, book readings, or anything like that. He's busy jet setting around the country and the world, but never anything there at that school that would denote, I'm passionate about teaching these kids math. I'm passionate about teaching them this, that, and the third. But there we go.
Or that he's concerned about self-esteem or self-concept of African-American or Black. I'm using these terms now because that's something I point out in his dissertation. He's all over the place with that too, but he doesn't strike me as someone who's really concerned about what he's actually writing about in his dissertation.
Did you notice that he doesn't hyphenate? And I don't really care. I'm really no way about it. But did you notice he doesn't hyphenate African-American, but he does hyphenate any other people group?
I didn't even notice that, but I see it here. Yeah, I see it right here.
So African-American is not, but later on when he mentions other groups, they're hyphenated.
European. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'll look out for that. I didn't even notice. Real quick, just a point of clarification. Barbara Shoemake, that's Umar's mother, and Jermaine Abdullah Johnson, that's Umar Johnson's father. So just want to make that clear that when he did acknowledge them, since that time, there's been all types of things that have come out, but then also he's had a falling out with his father as well. So it's gone left really, really bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on here. Here's the table of contents. We won't read through that. We'll just scroll down to where we get into the meat and potatoes. And if for any pages, if I don't have it highlighted, you have something you want to bring up, go ahead and do so. I did acknowledge in chapter 1, the introduction. This is a statement of the problem. I highlighted they have been trying to determine why these students begin to do poorly in the middle grades. And he's quoting Coakley, but I just want to point out that just in terms of writing, this is mediocre. This is mediocre. They have been trying.
It's not scholarly written at all. I'm sure an academic, which I'm not, would say this is definitely written lowly. Is written, and I do fault. I will say then I fault whoever mentored him or whoever read over his research, because they should have asked or required that his writing be elevated. So I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna put that on his mentors, on his and such of that nature, because they should have been coaching him on that.
And just for context, so introduction, statement of the problem: the poor performance of African Americans, not hyphenated, good point, African American middle school students, which is hyphenated, has been of premium interest to psychologists, educators, and other social scientists for decades. They have been trying, my goodness, they have been trying to determine why these students begin to do poorly in the middle grades. And he's quoting Coakley there. Referencing Coakley, in an effort to prevent subsequent truancy and dropping out at the high school level. And then I highlighted Kunjufu because a lot of Umar, and I've talked about this, a lot of Umar's early work was plagiarized from Kunjufu. And Kunjufu passed away recently. Kunjufu, so rest in peace. He recently wrote, wrote a book, Kunjufu, called The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. Umar took a lot of, he had, I think it was 3 books in that series. Umar took a lot of that information, and that was part of the premise and a lot of information that he presented in one of Umar's lectures, which was called, what was it? The destruction, I can't remember, the war on Black boys or something to that effect. But a lot of it was sourced from Kunjufu, and Umar quotes Kunjufu throughout.
Thought it was interesting because I heard you mention that on your show the other day, and when I was reading through it, I was like, oh, this is a gentleman that Lenon was talking about. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because he quotes him quite a bit, him and Coakley quite a bit.
Yeah.
To me, again, I would probably, especially if knowing now what we know about Umar Johnson and the way he moves, that, the vast majority of his support base are single moms with boys that don't know what they're throwing their hands up. So he's like the virtual stepdad for a lot of these little boys. And knowing that, it just seemed like he instead of putting the heavy lifting where I think it should be, which is, why are there no fathers in the household?
Right.
I think it just seems like it's a faulty premise. It's kind of like, hey, why is this car making this noise? I realize there's only 3 tires on it, but why is the car making noise? We must do a study to realize, why is this car making noise when it drives on the street with 3 tires? Sir, it has 3 tires. It's supposed to have 4. That's why it's having a problem. It's like you're ignoring the most obvious problem there is, when it's almost staring you in the face. Well, actually, truth be told, it is staring him in the face, because he is one of those absentee fathers. So it was staring him in the face all this time. And instead of that, again, as a former classroom teacher, I can tell you right now, grades, and there's a lot of shenanigans that happen with grades. There's just entirely too many variables for little Johnny's spelling test. And the thing is also, I'm surprised they didn't use like standardized testing, because those are a little bit more controlled. There's a little bit more like map testing here in Georgia, milestone here in Georgia, other tests like that, where you can kind of say, hey, all the kids in this school district are taking the exact same test about the exact same time. We can look at those results and really see where we can move the needle. Little Johnny's spelling test and little Sally's reading scores, I'm not 100%, unless they're standardized. I just don't think you can get the best information from it. I just didn't feel like he needed to do that. And again, there's other ways he could have tackled this problem, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think he references anything about fathers' roles or any with self-esteem or self-concept in here, from what I remember, which is interesting. Yeah,
which would seem like, again, like that would be a great, if you're looking at middle school boys, let's just say boys, because again, the school was supposed to be for boys. Why would you not look at what these boys should become? One day, these middle school boys are going to become grown men. So when you want to look at what are they using to emulate and grow themselves up or point in that direction, the absence of men probably is a great indicator for why they're not doing well in school, because they really don't see a benefit or value to it.
Yep. Amen. And real quick, Kunjufu talks about that. So it's fascinating that Umar, he quotes Kunjufu throughout, but he doesn't reference that particular point, which is a very important point.
Extremely important.
Okay, so just let me know in terms of, as we scroll down here, if you have notes on any specific page, just let me know. Right?
All right. So of course, we're looking at chapter 2, and I just mentioned that the review covers the definitions and the functionality and the measurement of the self-concept that he's highlighting. Where did I put that? Where did that come from? So that's on page 4.
Okay, and real quick, here are the research questions. Let me read this to people because I think it's pertinent to what Umar, I guess his goal in this is there a relationship between is there a relationship between subjective ratings of self-concept and academic achievement among African-American middle hyphen is incredible. Now I see it. I can't unsee it now that you mentioned it.
I didn't mean to do that to you, man. I apologize.
That's all right. That's all good. Middle school children. Are there any cultural factors that may mediate the relationship between self-concept and academic achievement among African-American middle school children? It's fascinating because he doesn't mention fathers being in the home, because that would be a cultural factor that would mitigate the relationship between self-concept. Anyway, okay, so it just seemed like a big,
it seemed like a huge, I mean, there's a huge opportunity there to say, hey, this is a big gap. But again, I don't think he would, because why? The vast majority of his base are single moms that more than likely look at him as the virtual stepdad. So they don't want to feel accountable. You don't want you to hold, hold on. Can't do that. But he'll come off the top rope on us if we don't do our jobs. But he won't come off the top rope on them unless, of course, they reveal his secrets. So you have highlighted here transactional model of self-esteem in children, which demonstrated that the personality and behavior characteristics of parents and children had, repercussional effects on each other. Maternal behaviors and beliefs toward their children influence preconceived perceptions and ultimately the self-esteem of their children. However, that was so much better. Let me just grab my glasses and stop acting like I'm 20 years old. However, consistent with the theory of TMS, the development of self-esteem is complex, consisting of numerous bi-directional processes and influence of development of self-esteem in children as it relates to the parent-child relationship. How would you summarize that?
Yeah, I think he's outlining that parents are important when it comes to a child's development, especially when it comes to self-esteem, self-perception. But what I found fascinating that he does not address the issue of fathers not being present and how that actually impacts self-esteem directly. And that's one of the major issues in the African-American or Black community.
Absolutely. And I think, again, I understand using grades as a bellwether, if you will. I feel like that is not the best, as I've already mentioned before. But I think you have you got a lot more meat on the bone to look at absentee fathers, single parent homes, and such of that nature than just saying, just kind of brushing over it, if you will. Because I feel like he brushed over it and did not even address it with any real fidelity.
Yeah, yeah. And when you say grades, can you explain to the audience why that's important? Because it's part of the premise.
Sure. So, put a 1 in the chat if you have children that are in elementary, middle school, or high school, right? And let me go and put my 1 in there too. Rising. All right, so everybody's got kids. Well, a teacher, let's just make sure that everybody has a 6th grader, all right? And all of our 6th graders all go to the same middle school, all right? And on that 6th grade you got, let's go with language arts. You got 7 language arts classes. So all of our kids, all our 6th graders are divided up into those 7 classes. Well, you might have a seasoned teacher who's been teaching for 25 years. You might have a teacher who just came in, this is her first year teaching, and everybody else spread out between. And most of the time, they have grade level testing. So like the whole grade level gives a language arts test the same day. Every Friday, we do the language arts test, right? But let's say that your school doesn't do that, and the teacher makes the test as he or she sees fit, or so on and like that. And therefore, there's going to be a problem because you can see there's going to be inconsistencies. Like Miss Bumblebee has 100 questions on here. Miss Caterpillar only has 5. That's going to be a big difference. Miss Bumblebee uses homework to augment language arts grades. Miss Caterpillar doesn't. And all of those kind of things like that. So me having a 100 in my language arts class, but LenonHonor having an 80, there's a lot of reasons why that could be the case. And it doesn't mean that I've actually learned and understood the concepts that are there. I just did a whole bunch of extra homework that has boosted my grade up, and Lenon just did exactly what he was supposed to, but the teacher didn't give a lot of extra opportunities. That's what I'm saying, like a standardized test, whether it be here in Georgia, we have milestone testing. So they do testing several times a year with all the kids from, if I'm not mistaken, it's kindergarten all the way up to high school. And you can kind of see where they matriculated, see how they've moved from last year when they took the test at the end of the year to the beginning of the year when they took it, so on and so forth. And then they kind of see, they can track that and all that kind of good jazz like that. Everybody takes the same test. It's not on you, Lenon, to write the test. It's not on me to come up with the questions. They're already there, and everybody takes it. It's normalized so that everybody has access to the exact same, or had access to the exact same information. And to me, those are better tests because they allow for consistency. It's not flawless. There's going to be problems. There's going to be hiccups. There are going to be things that don't work exactly perfect. But the vast majority of the time, standardized tests like that help out a lot. Because it gives you a framework and say, hey, I got 22 little smiling faces in here, and I can see where they were last year in the spring when we went home. Now they came back, we're going to test them again. And hey, a lot of them didn't have that summer rot. A lot of them didn't have the summer fall off. All right, we cooking. And now I can formulate my plan because I know we're going to have another test come February. We'll have another test at the end of May. So I need to drive, get ready for that, and I can know how to get them there. To me, it makes much more sense. And everything else you do is all pointing in that direction. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And we'll get deeper into why that's relevant later, because Umar does talk about some of the limitations of his approach in terms of getting the data for this. Okay. Was there anything else on this page that you wanted to address?
There was not. Like I said, I hate to say, I really was thinking about the back half of that test of this dissertation. But let's go into this methodology.
Okay. And then on page 5, I did outline here. Umar, he quoted Ralph and Menica from 1998, found that a relationship exists between student self-esteem and depressive symptoms following academic examinations, with students with a high self-esteem having fewer depressive symptoms and students with low self-esteem having more depressive symptoms. They also found that the anxiety in students with low self-esteem increased after they were, let me put my glasses on, after they were presented with tasks that normally lead to a high probability of success. They concluded that children with low self-esteem routinely look for data to confirm their low self-beliefs, and the inconsistent feedback caused by academic success leads to increases in anxiety even when these children are successful. And I wanted to point this out because Umar, this was really good with what he
did on the screen.
Here. Yeah, this right here, and it ties to him at this point. He's pursuing his PsyD. It ties to his efforts to become professional. Well, he was already, because he in essence he had a master's in psychology, but this is the next level for this. For him to outline this, I think this was really good because it ties to a lot of what would be important for a psychologist or for a school psychologist who's working in the school system, dealing with issues of self-esteem, depressive symptoms, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to give him credit for that. Really, really good.
Yeah, and I don't want to take away from that either. I just don't see it played out we see it here when he wrote this, but I don't see it played out in anything that he was doing. Sure, you can stand on the stage and rant for several hours and talk about this, that, and the third, or you can go on a podcast, or you can go on, but I never see you actually working with children to apply this information, even self-actualizing, teaching kids how to grow a garden or cut grass or anything like that. Nothing working with children to apply and see if this stuff actually works, help build their self-esteem because they can see that they've done something useful and meaningful that benefits the whole community, maybe benefits FDMG. This will be a school one day and I'm helping him out. Anything of that nature, I don't see him doing that. It's always adults. It's always single moms, simp dads, but I don't see him working with children to help them.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. I think that's the dichotomy with Umar. You have Umar who pretends to be something that he's really not, because he's still telling people in 2025 that he's a school psychologist. He hasn't worked in the field since 2011. He doesn't have, he holds no professional certifications at this time, including to be a school psychologist. So you have that Umar, how he really represents himself to the public, and it's just all talk. But then you also have Umar as who he really is as a person. And even these types of issues of self-esteem, anxiety, well, his daughter has come out and spoken about these types of issues too, but he's nowhere to be found to try to help her out. It's total contradiction.
Absolutely. And, and we could talk for 2 days about the relationship he has with his daughter. I'm like, my guy, I don't fully understand. And, by God's grace, I don't have a dysfunctional relationship with my kids and my wife, and I don't have any other kids outside my home. So I don't understand fully what it's like to be in a situation where you see your child is clearly hurting, clearly wanting your engagement, but you are over here jet setting to South Africa, or you busy running around talking about whatever in the Caribbean and that and the third, and you're watching her crash out on camera. And you know where she is, you have access to her, you've talked to her. Why are you not making that your priority? Because please understand, this shows what you would do. If you're the most requested school psychologist on the planet and in the multiverse and everybody's looking for you, why is it that you're not applying it at I guess one of the more close relationships that you have? He's been more gracious to the woman that was came up and rolled up on him and said that she drives kids around. He was more gracious to her than he was to his own daughter. But you want us to send our boys to your school? Okay. All right. Let me tell you what's not going to happen.
That's real talk.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to point something else out because we were talking about anxiety. Oftentimes, it could be the case that anxiety leads to depression, and that depression leads to suicidality. If you don't mind, I want to pull up a video because it
Sure.
just came to mind. We weren't planning on pulling up videos. I just want to use this as an example. So this is an example. Again, Umar wrote this dissertation. This was from 2012. Here we are in 2021. This would be November 18th, 2021. And I'm going to pull up a video. We're going to go to the 1 hour and 13-minute mark, almost 14-minute mark. I want people to hear what Umar says right here, because it just goes to show you a total departure from what he was writing about in his dissertation, and also total departure from what he used to talk about, because he used to talk more about these issues that we find inside his dissertation, a lot of it rooted in Quantum Jufu. Now he spends more time talking very reckless on topics that have nothing to do with any of this stuff. So let me pull this up. Here we go.
You not interview, give it back. There's no way a psychologist can make a qualitative determination on a disability or mental illness. And I never spoke to the parent. You want to know why? Because only you know if that child was born full term. Only you know if that child ever been hospitalized. Only you.
Hold on, I got to go back just a little bit. It is right.
And that is important for our children. African history, respecting your parents, planning your future, dealing with emotions and anxiety as a young person, which is very important because in case you don't know, suicide for all black people is up. And for teenage black girls, it is through the roof. And I want all of y'all to know right now, do not play around with children when they say they want to kill themselves. I do not play. Let a child in my presence say they want to kill themselves. You're going to the psychiatric emergency response center, and I know you're going to sit there all night before somebody see you. That's exactly where I'm going to take your ass, so you can sit there all night and know next time don't open your mouth and say you want to hurt yourself unless you mean it.
Okay, I got it. That's mad reckless. But you know what? He does that quite a bit. Just this past weekend when he was in New Jersey, talking about the 12 bad boys. And remember that? Talking about he's going to lock them in. Again, he talks mad reckless. And I don't see, I can't imagine an MLK talking like this on a hot mic. Maybe he did in the quiet, around the poker table. Maybe he did. I don't know. But I just can't imagine him on a hot mic talking this reckless. Or again, like, you want people to trust you, and you say stuff like, don't tell me you're going to self-harm yourself unless you're going to do it. Third, they're going to do it, and they're not going to tell you.
Right.
Like, so you're creating more problems than solve, and you're just super reckless. But
yeah. And then of course it ties to what's going on with his daughter now. This mentality that he has. It's just unbecoming, especially as a father. It's just, and then even as a psychologist, but as a father, it's just unbecoming.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure fellow psychologists would probably not handle that the exact same way, and probably would say that, yeah, what he said is not appropriate,
right,
or positioned correctly. So I'm with you 100%. All right, where are we going next? Let's see.
All right, here we go.
So okay. All right.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff in the middle. Okay, this right here, effects of setting on self-concept. Code 1991 found that peer and teacher evaluations of fourth grade student academic competence were predictive of changes in student academic self-concept over the course of the school year. I just want to point out the limitations. There are limitations to this too, but Umar, he does take the time to outline those at the end of this, and I just want to give him credit for that as well.
I can rock with that. What page you on? 20? What page you on?
Yeah, this is on page 12.
Okay, I'm gonna back up some.
Okay.
All right. No, I'm just looking, make sure I didn't have any notes that I wanted to point out. No. And again, like I said, I really wanted to jump on because I think it's a misnomer that, and feel free to jump on me in the chat, dearwokec@gmail.com, email management. To tell a child.
Hey, also give your new YouTube screen name there too while you're at it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The JWhit podcast.
All right.
And I think it's you want me a piece of scam Africanism? You want my I think it, and feel free to correct me. If you were born here in Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, South Carolina or somewhere in Texas or California as a black boy or black girl, you're already navigating enough as it relates to this country and this community that you've been raised in. To put on the burden that this child needs to learn about a continent that's filled with countries that you don't know which one is yours or where you might be assigned to or whatnot like that. All you know is that you live over here on Pan Africa Avenue and 42nd Street. That's all you know. To put that burden on it, to me, is a foolhardy venture. Deal with where you are right here. And you hear Umar talk about it ad nauseum. And I feel like that's part of, it creates a level of discontentment because I'm not looking where I am. It's kind of like if you're not happy with what you are, keeping up with the Joneses, proverbially, or the grass is greener on the other side. So instead of me being right here, like taking care of where I live, taking care of my family, I'm always looking about woulda, shoulda, couldas over across the street, or woulda, shoulda, couldas on the other side of the world even. And to me, I don't think it lends itself to success. I think it lends itself to being a level of discontented with where you are, and you're not going to apply yourself the best, in my opinion, where you are, because you're always being hammered that you need to worry about Africa. You need to worry about what's going on in the motherland, what's going on the continent, versus what about my own mama right here? What about this little plot of land that I have right here in Georgia? But okay, I guess I got to worry about what's going on over there. And I don't think it lends itself to being like disassociated with, we are here. Now, I'm going to pick a fight. I know that's why I don't like the hyphenated American anyway. Like, we are Americans, period. Sure, if you want to say that I'm more melanated American, whatever. But really, we're Americans. Let's stop it. And it doesn't lend itself to being, I don't believe, successful, because we haven't seen it be successful. And we can't keep blaming and pointing a finger at other people groups saying they're the reason we're not successful. No, we're not even associated. We don't even associate ourselves with being here on this, here in this place, and saying, I'm Georgian, I'm American. Oh, no, I got to add all these other qualifiers to it because I don't want to be a part of it. And therefore I'm not. And then I can't be successful here because I'm not really associated with it. So just a little, just something I'm noticing from here. And maybe that's a precursor to my rant that's going to happen when we get to page 47.
47.
44.
Okay. All right, 44. Okay. All right, we getting there. All right, and this is Brother Jay from the JWhit podcast. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother, for taking the time. I really do.
No problem, man.
Okay, so I'll scroll down here. Just stop me if there's any page you want to get to, and then I don't think I have much highlighted because a lot of this stuff, it was very difficult to get to. I just was not impressed.
And I can totally understand why you weren't. I don't feel like it was, again, I like how you said it. I didn't learn anything. It wasn't something that really stood out to me as, sure, it's written in a format. It's checked all the boxes as a doctorate. So I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to dunk on the advisors that helped lead him in this. All I'm saying is I don't think it ultimately lends itself to being a successful package that ultimately will make these students better. And let's just be honest, it didn't motivate Umar to make these changes that would have been quote unquote FDMG or whatnot, because it didn't happen. But I also think there was a lot of other factors that he brought to the equation too. He poisoned the well quite a bit. His own stuff. I see you got page 44 highlighted. I see. Let me go scroll down there real quick.
All right. Okay. Let's get into this.
Okay. Let me give the caveat. The reason I'm bringing this up is because the first 40 pages of this were that scholarly writing, talking about testing and such of that nature. But here, if you just on page 44, that's when he starts talking about the impacts of education, impacts on education, and race on education, and all these other aspects on education. And to me, this is where we really see Umar shine. This is where we see Umar's Umar comes out right here.
That's right.
Now, I hate to say it. I can't think of another way to say it.
Yeah, before you get into this, I just want people to know we did not compare notes. So when Brother
No,
Jay said when we get to this page, but you see, I already had it ready for you. So let's go. Let's
no.
get into this. Yeah. So impact of race on education. I'm going to read this to everyone. Okay. Group 1 responses, those focusing upon the first 3 open-ended questions centered around the impact of being Black on their life provided a rather interesting trend. I find this to be fascinating too, because he interchanges Black, then he says African American without the
Yep.
hyphen, but then he also talks about African American and African culture. So this is kind of tying to some of the stuff we were saying earlier. Okay, so let me read this and then go and make your point.
Face
Okay,
problems, yeah.
so being Black on their life provided a rather interesting trend. Based upon their own open-ended responses, children apparently can be affected by race in school, but not out of school, and vice versa. For example, some children responded that being Black affected them in school positively or negatively, but that it did not affect them out of school. There are certain possible explanations for this trend among this group. For example, the school that these children attend is in a racially dense section of a large city that is predominantly African American, no hyphen, with few, if any, members of other racial groups. Thus, the school itself, reflecting the racial demographics of the immediate neighborhood, is almost exclusively African American. Given the fact that these children may not have had many experiences with racial diversity, they may have been insulated against the potential effects that come with negative encounters with racism, since most of their peers are Black and their principal is African American as well. This possibility is embodied in the following response. And then he's quoting one of the responses by one of these children. Said, being Black does not affect me because I am in a Black community, which may also hold true for out of school experiences. So it really starts to get racialized once we get into page 44. And I'm going to say something based upon my research. This is one of the reasons why Umar had a difficult time passing this dissertation. In fact, let me say one other thing. A lot of people don't know. Umar actually was kicked out of PCOM. They kicked him out. And I can actually pull up the video to show you guys.
That's why he came out with a different name.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't know that. I'm just cracking a joke.
Yeah. But he was kicked out and then he was reinstated. But a lot of the issues in terms of what he was presenting as a candidate, a doctoral candidate, to get this ID, was that he started to racialize things, and it was kind of beyond the scope. And this is where we see this transition on page 44. You know, everything else is robust. You see scholarly writing to a degree. Also got to mention, I enjoyed, even though I didn't highlight it, I enjoyed the statistical breakdowns. I like to see numbers and figures. I've always been in that kind of stuff. So he did a fantastic job with that. But once we get to 44, page 44, it really starts to go on this excursion that's totally unexpected. Well, yeah, what are your thoughts?
No. I don't agree with calling everything race. There's a cultural issue that he seems to completely just ignore. Like, we have cultural differences. I live here in Georgia. Somebody who lives in New York, somebody who lives in California, good gracious, somebody lives on the other side of the planet. They could be in a community that's highly melanated, Black community, and every one of us has a different experience.
Absolutely.
And we have a different culture. And I think to make everything about a racial issue, like we're in here in his writing, he talks about having a school that's in a Black neighborhood. You're going to have a lot of Black kids, Black teachers, and Black principal. But there's a culture that you're ignoring, because if you have that school in an affluent Black neighborhood, it's going to be different than if you have that same school in a less affluent Black neighborhood. And then if you have that school in a very, very poor Black neighborhood, that same school is going to be a different experience. The culture is different. The color and ethnicity of the people is not the issue. And it seems to be like sometimes when we hyperfixate on race, and that's what we're going to talk about now, we hyperfixate on race, we skip the most obvious, again, the three-wheel car. We miss the most obvious issue, is that race isn't the issue. It's culture that plays a huge part in this, and we're just ignoring that because everybody's Black and so everybody has the same experience. No, that's not true, or has the same cultural experience.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that and say, going back to a point you made earlier when we first started, and it was a missed opportunity, because when we talk about culture, whether or not a child is being brought up in a two-parent home, that's part of culture.
Huge. Like,
If the father is absent, that's part of culture. And I would propose that, for some reason, I shouldn't say it that way. There is a mentality wherein it's become normalized, this idea that Black fathers or African American fathers, or however you want to call it, that them being absent, it's been normalized to where it's not perceived to be an issue, that it doesn't have these types of impacts. And that's, again, is another example of a missed opportunity that Umar really could have explored in his this piece, that could have probably provided some insight, both research, but then also from his own perspective, that would have given more value, in my opinion, to his dissertation.
But like, for example, let's go back to the cultural issue. If you have that same high school or same school in a very poor community, but you have a lot of fathers that are involved, a lot of fathers in the home. Same thing in a medium income or high, and you have all fathers involved. You're going to see you're going to see a humongous difference than if there's single parent homes. And so those are some very huge obstacles. I think we just can't make everything race. Sure, there are racial issues in the United States. Signs of partiality run amok. But are they as bad as some of the other self-inflicted wounds that the highly melanated community has? I think we have a lot of problems that we need to resolve. AKA, we can start with the fatherless homes as a huge issue that we need to resolve. I don't think that Umar would talk about it because he would directly be speaking against himself.
Amen.
So he couldn't say that. Whereas you and myself, we're in homes with our wives and our children, and we can talk emphatically about that because we're doing our best, toughing it out, loving every moment of it, fighting against the socks and such like that.
Yeah, you got to bring that up.
I told you I was going to get you. I got to stay to the end and find out what I said about the socks.
All right.
But make sure you hit the like button, okay? Hit the like button and then we can talk about socks. But no, like being a part of a family and being engaged with your family. And the same thing with me, being engaged with my family. We have a different outlook. So I would venture to say, if we put the school that your kids are in a very poor neighborhood, but you were still involved in it, the outcomes would be different than if you weren't in the household. And I think Umar completely misses that. It doesn't have a lot to do with race. There is a culture or what's normalized, like you said, that normalized, that we need to be honest about. Say we've normalized dysfunctionality, and then we point finger at other people and say it's race.
Okay. Let's get back to this. So this is where stuff really starts to get interesting. Okay, so
you like race pride?
Yeah, I got through this impact of race pride. Yeah. Was there anything from here you want to point out?
I kind of mentioned it earlier. The idea that I'm looking at another group, another place to find my value and my self-worth. So, like, for the life of me, I don't get it. I'm not trying to be obtuse. I'm not trying to be just difficult. I don't get it. Like, why do I need to say, well, because we share the exact same skin color, then therefore we have the exact same values and exact same moral standings? I don't think that works. Where does that come from? And to ask that question,
or that our ancestors all had the same too. So let me read.
Yeah, we didn't even go there, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. So impact of race pride on education. The response being Black to me means being brave and strong. Suggests that children who provided this response may have benefited from the immense historical information that provides examples of African Americans and their institutions that have demonstrated success and resiliency despite innumerable odds. Thus, these children may derive a degree of race pride from the knowledge of their cultural history. But again, culture is not a monolith amongst African American or Black people, which serves as a source of motivation and obligation to live up to the examples left by their, here we go, ancestors. Right. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
No. And again, like, am I just to assume? Well, one of these things is in order to buy into a lot of what Umar does, we just make assumptions. Every Black person was a slave, every white person was a slave owner. You just have to make that assumption, even though that's not the case at all. Not saying, again, it's not. So, or maybe your family came here, maybe you're second generation. or whatever of that nature. There's a lot of different variables that play into it, but you have to just make these assumptions that everybody who's black was a slave, everybody white was a slave owner. There we go. And that doesn't actually work. And then even more than that, why do we, just because, let's just say that was true, why does that mean emphatically that me and you, Lenon, have some kind of affinity? Why? Like, what does that mean? Why does that mean that? And I don't think they want to have that conversation and critically analyze and say, hey, we're here now. Again, we're here right now in 2025. Let's do it where we are now, because I don't really fully know where we came from. I don't fully know. And that doesn't change the fact that right now we got to work together. Yeah. We got to grow together, and we're going to raise our family. We got kids to raise, and we got stuff to do. So looking back in the back mirror doesn't necessarily guarantee that I'm going to be successful. And I don't see why that is a hard road to hoe or obstacle to overcome. Like, we don't have to do that. But as we see later on, that's kind of where he ends up landing.
Mm-hmm. And so impact of racism on education. I want to point out, notice how Umar says African Americans. He uses black, but then he starts to infuse European American. As if that's a monolith too.
And I don't get it. I'm like, and Europe is a huge continent as well. So why do we do that? Like, what's the value in besmirching all Europeans, or to say that everybody who's black shares this exact same understanding when it's not necessarily true? And is, again, like how you said it, we're not a monolith. They're not a monolith either. So why do we do that? And we just do it wholesale. It seems like they're just having a lot of fun doing it. Like, just stop it. Okay.
Yeah, let me read this just so that people can hear what he says. He said, the response, being black has affected my performance in school by people talking about other African Americans, how black you are, or European Americans you are, or European American you are, may suggest that many African American children have become self-conscious about their racial identity as a result of peer taunting. I think this is Umar, even though this does happen, I think this is Umar kind of projecting. Being black means a lot to me because of our history and what people did for us. Okay, and then ties to the ancestors. It's a response that appears to imply that African Americans are where they are through the assistance of benevolent European Americans. I don't know how he gets to that point.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
I didn't either. And I peer taunting. I mean, we're relatively around the same age, bro. We would talk about each other so bad when we were young.
I used to make
playing the dozens, yo mamas, and it's such of that nature.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how now all of a sudden the generation that had no problem talking about how fat your mama was and how black your mama was, now all of a sudden gets upset with the notion, the idea that somebody white would say something bad about you. Now all of a sudden they got to go to therapy and we got to make hashtags and print shirts when, I mean, we're the generation that was talking about your mama so black. Like, stop it. Just stop. So it does seem like we've really, I don't get it. And I don't think this happens as much as they want to make it. Now, I'm not saying that children are not children and say bad things to each other. Now, what I'm not saying is that. But in all honesty, I don't think it is prolific as you want to make it out to be. But, hey, email management, let us know.
All right. And then he goes on to say, again, I don't see how he gets to that benevolent European Americans. Anyway, a child giving this type of response may have confidence in race pride by way of knowledge of their ancestral and historical past, but also may have a view of European American that is not antagonistic, but rather respectful by virtue of what they believe others have done to advance the cause of African American freedom and independence. But he's talking about children. This is so beyond the scope. Go ahead.
But or this is just a crazy thought, or they just treat people like people. And just say, you know what, Brother Lenon, let me come on his show. I appreciate it, man. That was very kind of him. I don't need to worry about whether or not, Jim Bob helped you pump your gas and the white man did this to help. No, like Lenon helped a brother out. Like he let me on the show, sit over here and rant and tell my bad jokes. Man, bless that brother, man. That was really cool. He didn't have to do that. We don't have to make it more than that, though. That's my thing. Like, and now if I can replace Lenon with, I Tommy or Sally. Tommy or Sally did something nice. They helped me out today. That's cool. Shout out. I tell a joke all the time on my channel. I have across the street. Matter of fact, I'll tell a joke the first time. A couple of days ago, a white man oppressed me and my daughter. He oppressed us. We were in the line at Starbucks. We ordered my daughter a drink, and we were getting up to the line, and that white man ahead of us, because we were looking at the car, and he went to the school that my daughter is getting ready to go to, the college that she's going to. And we were kind of joking about this. I don't know the guy. And that man reached back and oppressed us. You know what he did, Lenon? He paid for our drinks. He paid for our drinks while we were sitting, and we didn't know him from Adam's house cat. But you know what? He stole from me the opportunity to get my double stars, man. You know, Starbucks was giving double stars that day, and I did not get my double star. He oppressed me, man. He oppressed me. Doesn't that sound silly to be sitting there ranting about something ignorant like that when somebody just did something nice? So I ended up buying the people behind me buy their drink. I guess I was like, hey, I guess I'll just buy somebody's drink. So, but it was just a white guy just doing something nice. It didn't have to be racially motivated. He probably just felt like doing something kind. He had a couple extra bucks, maybe got a tip, and said he wanted to be a blessing. So we just rolled it back to the next person. It doesn't have to be so, we don't have to make it so complex as all this reaching back into ancestral whatever. No, the brother just did something nice. Lenon just let me come on the show. That was nice of him. I don't have to get all deep in, what was his motivation for doing it? No, the brother just did something nice. Stop looking at gift horse in the mouth and be quiet.
Now, what are double stars, by the way? I didn't know what's that?
Oh, so when you order something from Starbucks, you get like stars. And there's certain days that they double. So like you get a $5 drink, they give you 10 stars. And you can use those stars to redeem for like drinks or add-ons and stuff like that. And so my kids like doing that. So I roll with the kids. But some days they do double stars. So if you get a drink for $5, you get 20 stars for it because they double the stars. And so I'm like, this dude just stole my opportunity to get my stars.
Get your stars.
He oppressed me, man. He stole my stars.
All right. Okay. All right, let's continue here.
Let's get this dance going.
For tuning on in.
Absolutely.
For tuning on in. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit that like button. Okay, I appreciate it. We got about 2,800 people inside the building.
That's crazy. Shout out.
Yeah, thank you guys. And there is a poll question there too. If you guys haven't voted on the poll, make sure you get your vote in. So here's another one: impact of racial heritage on education. Let me read this section that I highlighted. The comment being Black means my ancestors had a hard life. Here we go. Implies knowledge of one's ancestral past as enslaved Africans, but does not necessarily indicate whether one is shameful of that past or proud of the ancestors' continuous striving to obtain freedom. Well, if they're your ancestors, they're not striving to obtain freedom because they're already
passed on. Right.
Yeah. The response being Black to me means that it's fun knowing my ancestors came all this way. Suggests these student respondents may take pride in learning about the struggles their ancestors overcame to obtain freedom. Similarly, the statement being Black means a lot to me because being Black and having my ancestors fight for rights is a blessing, is indicative of a child who feels honored and endowed with a strong sense of ancestral obligation towards doing well academically and personally. I just think it's interesting. It's a bit of a stretch too.
Oh, literally, you took the word out of my mouth. What about the fact that my grandparents came up from Mississippi to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Chicago, and they worked pretty hard. They did pretty well for themselves. Why not the fact that they didn't struggle per se. They weren't sharecropping up in Chicago or whatnot, but they did as well as they could. Why not the fact that, hey, because they did as well as they could, I'm going to build off of that and do better? Why does it have to reach back to sharecropping and slavery when maybe you don't even know that? Again, not every Black person was a slave. Not every white person was a slave owner. And it just seems like you're just fixating on this and it doesn't yield the results that you think it yields because our children are not as successful as you would think they should be with all these facts that you just gave about slavery and fighting and struggle. So maybe we need to focus on doing better from where we are versus looking back to basically three three steps back trying to figure out why we're not winning a race. It seems odd to me.
Yeah, I also think this is one of the reasons why he struggled to get this dissertation to pass. Again, here's
I like
the word willingness to resist oppression as another terminology that he uses here. Let me read this highlighted part. Being Black has affected me because European American people look at Black people like we are crazy. Again, this implies it's suggestive of possible negative interactions with European Americans. However, this position also could come from historical or cultural instruction in which African American children can learn, and quite candidly from television and history books, just how inhumanely their ancestors were treated by European Americans. Again, just reaching back into the past. I just think that in this sense, when he's talking about these children, it's kind of, in my opinion, it's a bit of a stretch, bit of a stretch, and it's beyond the scope.
No, and I agree with you. And again, it's almost like sometimes we talk about the peak of Black television, I believe, was the Cosby Show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we were ever able, post Cosby Show, post A Different World, to recapture that lightning in a bottle of depicting a positive Black family doing something great. I think that was really the peak of Black family sitcom, Black television. I don't think we got better from there. Y'all can email management, let me know if I'm wrong, but I don't think we got better from there. I think it was always, everything else was just a step down, a degree off. I think that was the peak of Black television. The reason I bring that up is because not everything is a struggle, though. And I think we learned that from the Cosby Show in A Different World. It didn't always have to be a struggle. We're literally fighting to do better, not fighting against somebody. And I think the more we make it, I got to fight against LenonHonor. I got to do better than LenonHonor. I got to do better than the JWhit podcast. I think I don't think we flourish as well as we can. Be like, man, this brother's doing great. I want to do as great as he is. He's blazing a trail. Let me call him. Let me reach out to this person and say, how can I do better than what I'm doing, following after you? Versus, like, how would you feel if I called you and said, hey, man, you crushed on the last video. Can I get some tips? Versus me over here plotting and scheming about, I gotta take down LenonHonor. No, I want you to do well because you're going to blaze a trail for me to do well. I mean, you clearly go to the right kind of barber, so you got good sense. So we got that. So I want to support
I'm
brothers.
barber, by the way.
The balded brothers, come on, man. Balded brothers unite. But again, not everything has to be a struggle. And we don't have to always be fighting and clawing. We can actually uplift and edify. We can do that. Sure, there's going to be some fights. There's going to be some clawing. But the vast majority of our lives is not really fighting and clawing. We create that because we want to feel like we're doing something. But really, we could be building and uplifting. We don't have to fight and claw. And it just seems like here, the only time he brings in Europeans is in a negative sense, as if everybody who's from Europe is out here trying to get us. And it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think that's beyond the scope. And for the record, there is racism. I've talked about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are some other groups of people who disparage quote unquote Black people, African American. That happens. But in terms of in our everyday life, I used to say when people would get on this, because Umar, he's big on this, especially now. But you can see remnants of it in here about being oppressed and all this stuff. And I used to tell people, okay, well, give me 10 ways you were oppressed today.
That man stole my double stars, man.
No, okay.
It still hurt, man. It still hurts, man. It still hurts.
Yeah, and then I'll say, well, give me 5 ways that you were personally oppressed today. And then 3, and then I go down and I go down. The point is that one of the problems, especially with what Umar does, racism does exist. We do have to deal with it. But he conflates it with what the types of experiences that our ancestors had as if it's the same. And the truth
one for one correlation.
Yeah. It's not. There is no one.
It's not. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Appreciate it, man. All right. You got racial identity and education. Yep. There you go.
Yep. So here is a response that draws to this distinction between being Black and being African American. So I found this to be interesting because of how Umar, he interchanges these terminologies. And then these days, he doesn't like to use Black or African American. He says specifically African. So here is a response that draws a distinction between being Black and being African American. One can only speculate as to, let me read before. Another rather interesting response offered to the open-ended question was, I am not Black, but I am still African American. Here is a response that draws a distinction between being Black and being African American. One can only speculate as to why this response may have been reported by a child this age. Had this child been older or an adult, the conclusion would be drawn that this particular person has reached a certain degree of political and racial maturity in which the mere substitution of an adjective for a noun is no longer acceptable. Historically, African Americans were identified by the color of their skin. When Europeans first entered West Africa, a situation, I mean, he starts reaching.
He take it back way far.
Yeah, he do. When Europeans first entered West Africa, a situation was created which the lightest people on earth were face to face. They were face to face with the darkest people on earth, as if everyone in Africa was really, really dark. Okay. Anyway, thus the latter group came to be identified by their complexion and nothing more. This is Umar again reaching in these regards, and not only is he reaching with what he's saying here about the darkest skin versus the lightest skin people,
right,
but also he's trying to draw a correlation to what a child said, which was simply, I am not Black, but I am still African American. Well, he goes all the way to West Africa, then he goes all the way to when Europeans first entered West Africa.
Right.
Yeah.
Because again, you and I are relatively the same age. So we're familiar with being called colored and then Negro and then Black and African, Afro-American, then of course, African-American. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, for a child to say, I'm not Black, I'm African-American, is probably par for the course because again, the words have been changing. Again, whether you like them or not, I think we can be honest and say, yeah, we have changed the way we go about it, even though the National Association for Colored People pitches a fit when somebody less melanated says colored, even though in their name it still has colored people.
Colored people, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, they need an upgrade. So I'm not really... to me, he doesn't need to go all the way to West Africa to come up with this. He can literally just say, like, hey, the names have changed, and kids nowadays probably want to be called African American or maybe even American over Black because it just as words morph and change. But it just seems like, again, just why argue for that? And I don't understand what you argue for, Umar. Impact skin. And again, so when you go to page 49,
okay.
I just, again, like, it doesn't seem like he's focusing on what the study was about. Whether it be, because we've talked a lot about race since page 45. And now we're talking about skin color in education. A minute ago, we're talking about racism. And we're talking about, I mean, it seems like you're fixated on this. The statement being Black means a lot to me. It means that just because my skin is darker than a European American kid's, it doesn't mean that I can't be as smart as a European American kid's. Who said that you weren't? That's the part I don't get. Who is saying that you're not as smart? And why does skin color, who taught you that skin color is the reason why you're not smarter than somebody else? I don't know. Again, I'm not saying that there's not partiality. I'm not saying that people don't do this type of stuff, but is that really truly what's being denoted? Like, oh, well, you're Black, you're not smart? Because my children have been in gifted courses since second grade. So what does that mean with white children, with other Black children, with other nationality group children? So why does that mean to you, because I'm Black, I'm not as smart as a white kid? My kids have been smarter than white kids for many years. Like, what are we talking about? So
and let me read how Umar interprets the statement. The statement is, being Black means a lot to me. It means that just because my skin is darker than the European American kids, it does not mean I can't be as smart as the European American kids. And then Umar, he says, implies that this child may have learned enough about his or her African American culture. Again, he's not saying African, he's not saying Black, African American culture, to have been insulated against the negative effects of racial inferiority that can result from not knowing about one's culture. I'm sorry. This whole thing about racial inferiority, this has more to do with Umar's mentality, including his mentality in 2012, more so than, let's say, statistical analysis or research. This is his interpretation of what this child said, which was something very simple, but he turns it into that this child was insulated against the negative effects of racial inferiority that can result from not knowing about one's culture. Then he goes on to say, this child appears to view the races as equal and capable of similar accomplishments with no apparent belief in superiority based on race. However, as was similar among many of the comments made by students in this study, when making mention of race, this student appears to be aware that being Black comes with a negative connotation. In other words, this student is stating that just because my skin is Black implies that Black skin may be a negative trait, but it's not sufficient to justify accusations of one's inferiority to a European American student. It's really reaching there. What is the issue here? What is at issue here is whether or not this discomfort results from the internalization of negative stereotypes that produces insecurity when the student is identified, or whether the student feels the use of an adjective is insufficient to describe an entire race of people.
I want to just go back. When we say things like culture, what does that mean? Like, if you go back up to almost like the second sentence, that can result from not knowing about one's culture. Well, what is one's culture? Like, really, let's be so for real. Well, how is my culture here in Georgia the same as your culture in New York, your culture in Detroit? How about over in Austin, Texas, or San Francisco? How is our culture the same? What is the culture that we are promulgating? I'll wait. It just doesn't make sense. And why not say that this child has this? This used to be called a growth mindset. When I was a teacher, it was like a kid saying, "Hey, there's obstacles in the way, sure, but I can overcome those obstacles by doing X, Y, Z, A, B, C." This used to be called a growth mindset. This used to be called something commendable for a child to say, "Yeah, hey, okay, I got Black skin, and y'all think that's lesser, but I can show you that it's greater. Let me go ahead and show you that." It was actually seen as a great trait to have in a student. Now all of a sudden it's bad because they don't see, they overlook the problems because they're looking at the goal and knowing what they can do and being aware that I know I can study. I know I can read on grade level. I know I can understand math. I have a brain that I can comprehend. Therefore, you know what? Let me look past all that foolishness and let me get to my goal. Now Umar's saying it's a bad thing. If I'm understanding him correctly. And I'm like, I thought that was supposed to be a good thing to say, hey, I know I can overcome these obstacles. I don't need to reach back into the motherland. I don't need to go back to my ancestors. My mom and dad taught me pretty well. Let me go ahead and just do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Well,
what am I missing?
I think the part of the issue is that he's attempting to racialize this particular issue.
There we go.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
It's not so much of a racial issue, quote unquote, Black people, African Americans versus European Americans, or light skin versus white skin. I don't think that that's what the issue here, but he framed it though. Again, let me just do the statement again. The child said, being Black does not means a lot to me. It means that just because my skin is darker than the European American kids, it doesn't mean I can't be as smart as the European kids. So we're talking skin color, but Umar turns it into one's culture. And then somehow there is, some sort of a war between children who have darker skin color versus European children who have lighter skin color. I just think it's a stretch, and it's unnecessary. But that's because he's attempting to racialize the issue beyond where it needs to go, in my opinion. Okay.
No doubt, no question. Like, again, in no time are we saying that there are not issues between ethnic groups. We're not saying that they don't have issues. So that does happen. That doesn't happen. I'm only arguing that it doesn't happen as much as people say it does or want it to happen. And then also, the children are more resilient than we actually imagine. So we keep creating these scenarios where they can't overcome it. That's why you're saying that your kid needs to go to therapy. So why don't we stop and like, hey, okay, fine. That did happen. That transpired. Let's move on. Keep it going. Let's move, because we got goals and got places to be. Otherwise, you're going to sit here and languish, and you're not going to be where you want to be in 2-3 years. Just being realistic.
Okay, and then I did highlight this last part here.
Like this,
further evidence that children can perceive that race may affect them in the school setting, but not outside of school, or vice versa, is exemplified in the statement. Being Black really didn't matter to me because I'm still passing my classes. Being Black has made me seem like I let me see. Being black has made me seem like I hate myself. This statement implies that the child does not feel or his or her color or culture feel that his or her color or culture. Again, he's inflating all these different things.
Yeah, there's a lot of inflation.
Just because you have a particular skin color, it doesn't mean that you have a specific culture. Furthermore, just because you have a specific culture doesn't mean that there aren't other people who have your similar skin color who have that culture. Okay, it's much more complex than that. But again, I think for Umar, when he racializes these things and he goes beyond the scope, okay, is there a racial component here? Yes, but when he reaches and reaches and reaches, at a certain point, it's not tenable anymore. So that his or her color or culture has affected his or her performance in school, but that blackness has led to feelings of self-hatred. I mean, I just think it's a lot that's being conflated. Now we're conflating color and culture and what Umar calls blackness. That on one hand, there are three separate things, but then they're also connected somehow through, I guess, the racialization of this statement, which was being black really didn't matter to me. And I should say the over racialization of this statement. Being black really didn't matter to me because I was still passing my classes. Being black has made me feel like, has made me seem like I hate myself. Let me see this. Being black has made me seem like I hate myself. Okay.
It was rough. I didn't understand what he was trying to say. I want to talk about education.
Okay.
Still another student stated that being black has not affected me in any way, but teachers that are black teach us better in the classes, which implies no racially charged feelings about oneself, but an awareness that African-American teachers are more effective when teaching black students. That's not true.
Yeah, break it down.
It's just not true. It's just not true. If that be the case, then every school in the inner city that's 98% black teachers and students would be crushing it. It's just not true. Effective teachers, and even better than that, effective home life plays a greater role than whether or not you have a black teacher. Again, I was a teacher. I was a second and first grade teacher. I can tell you emphatically, having even a black male teacher in your building that don't know what he's doing, it don't matter.
I got you.
It really don't matter. Having a white teacher in the building that cares about those kids and is dedicated to her craft or dedicated to his craft, guess what? Those kids do better. Having a black teacher in the building that loves those kids and wants to see them do well and is staying up late writing lesson plans and so forth, those kids are going to do well. The skin color the teacher could be translucent. If the teacher is capable, and even better than that, if the home is sending the best version of that child, little Johnny, little Sally, little Ray, little Moniqua, every day, that teacher has more material to work with than vice versa. And I argue, the school to prison pipeline, a lot of people talk about that. It's really the home to prison pipeline. It's a little pit stop at school. Don't blame us. Y'all the ones that did it. Don't blame us. It's y'all. So, because it takes the onus off the home by saying school to prison. But we didn't birth them.
Parents. Yep.
Yeah. We didn't birth them. We didn't raise them. Y'all did that. Y'all are doing that. Look, it's y'all. And they just make a pit stop here. But back to my point. No, just having a black teacher doesn't do anything. Just like just having a Hispanic teacher or an Asian teacher, fill in the blank. No, that doesn't matter. What matters is a capable teacher who wants to see these kids succeed. He or she is going to do far better with the kids that are coming to school prepared, ready to roll, than just he's a black teacher, then my kid is going to do well. You're not guaranteed that. Ever. I'm going to tell you that right now. If some teacher, because we know school season is starting back up, if some teacher promises you success because they're just a black teacher, let me tell you right now, you're going to be sorely disappointed come the end of this year. Unless he or she is... Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Unless he or she is really putting it in. If their only qualifier is, hey, I'm a black teacher, and I'm just going to be great because I'm black, let me tell you right now, you're going to be sorely disappointed. You might as well go ahead and get ready for your kid to repeat that grade. It's not going to be the success you think about.
And I can say that it does matter if the parents prepare their children to be successful. It does matter the competency level of the teachers, whether or not the teacher can do their job the way that they should. And that's not a racial issue. This is to say that there are some great teachers who are Black. There's some who are not all that great. There's some, and I've had white teachers who were great. I've had white teachers that was just horrible. So it's just not all the way across the board. But I think with Umar, because, and a lot of his rhetoric, especially around this time during his dissertation, 2012, it was about the demonization of the school system, and this whole idea that these all of the white teachers were racist, and that they were trying to set up all of the Black boys so that the Black boys will ultimately be put in, go from the school to prison pipeline. So I think that we kind of see remnants of it inside of his dissertation too.
No, I totally understand. And I understand him. I just disagree with it. And okay, you know, hey, I would love to see, like, okay, you know, I know he was in education. I'd love to see, like, okay, how did this apply in your actual school experience as a school psychiatrist in a school? How did you apply this? I hear you talking on stage, but how did you apply this when you were over at 123 elementary school? How did that apply? How did you work that out? Because I think that would be interesting to see or to hear how it was applied, and maybe even some students or some parents that you worked with, maybe that hearing Umar talk, or have them come in and talk and maybe interview them and say, hey, this is what he did for my student. This is what he did for my child. This is how he helped me. That would be beneficial, because then we can see the application of this, because at the moment it's all theoretical. And I don't know if maybe a student that he worked with, he said that he's helped several moms with their kids, you know, get out. He's gone to IEP meetings and this, that, and the other. Maybe he could talk about that and maybe bring in some administrators or whatnot who can say, yes, this gentleman came in and he did this, that, and the other, and really was helpful, was a blessing to help this child get out of this situation and move him to a better spot. That would be great. Maybe some proof and concepts to buttress up his claims, because at the moment, these claims just seem, again, nebulous. And they seem theoretical. There's not any application or anything that we can put or sink our teeth into.
Yeah, and then real quick, there's 2 points. One is you used to use the term nebulous. He says things like which implies, or this could mean that, blah 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 blah. I just found it to be interesting. And then the other thing is, I just want people to clear in terms of the timeline with this. This dissertation is from 2012. I think it's June of 2012. Remember, said correctly.
Absolutely.
By this time, Umar's not working in the school system. He's not working as a
good point.
psychologist. So I want people to think about that too. That's very interesting, right?
Yeah, that is a good catch. I totally forgot about that. Let me see.
A summary of quantifiable findings. Let me know if you have any notes coming up here.
That was the last of my notes.
Okay, so I did have this. Yeah, I do have from page 52. Give that respondents range in grade and ability level, it would have been interesting to discern whether there were gender or grade differences in the quality of responses. And I thought this was important because it shows one of the limitations of, I guess you can say, the research phase of this and collecting data, that he didn't consider gender or grade level as he's putting this data together. But he does address this though too, to his credit. He addresses this when he starts to talk about limitations. Here's another one. Yeah, whether or not cultural knowledge and awareness assume a definitive function within the relationship between self-concept and academic achievements has not been proved in this study and remains a significant area of inquiry for further research. And this, for me, this really was when I said, okay, after reading this, I didn't learn anything. And then I thought to myself, it almost sounds as if this whole dissertation in the research phase, it didn't actually prove what his initial claim was, or his premise was. And then I said to myself, well, what was the point in doing this in the first place?
I agree. That's why we've been joking about page 44. I feel like the study was up to page 43, 44-ish. And the rest of it was just, for lack of a better term, pseudo Umar rants. I don't, with those questions, because I don't think that they tie together at all. I don't think you made that. Again, when you say, hey, I didn't really consider the age, the stage, or the gender of the child, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
We're talking about middle school. We're talking about, again, the because you spend the most amount of time in elementary school. So this is your second schooling, your second building, if you will. And you're going to be here for 3 years. There's a big difference between a sixth grader and an eighth grader. They grow a lot and they change a lot in those 3 years. And we already know there's a big difference between boys and girls. So not to consider that seems like you put yourself, if you had just said like, we're only going to focus on black boys because that's what FDMG was going to be, then we'll just stay right there with black boys. Then we can say that would make sense. But to not consider it seems to be you put a lot of things into the mix. And there's a lot of other variables. Let me say it like that. You put a lot of new variables into the mix that I don't think you truly controlled for.
Okay. And then someone said, and I'm not even sure if this is true because I didn't catch it. They said, so, and let me read this again. Whether or not cultural knowledge and awareness assume a definitive function within the relationship between self-concept and academic achievement has not been proved. Someone said it should be has not been proven.
Been proved. It is proven.
Yeah. So shout out to the person who caught that. I didn't catch it. Someone else had mentioned inside the chat. I happened to look up and I saw it right there. Okay. Let me scroll down. I don't think I have much
right
left here. The fact that most of the respondents blame themselves for their own failures or success was not expected from such young children. Oh, the personal responsibility taken by these students was remarkable. And I found this to be fascinating because especially where Umar is at today, and he's been this way for a long time. Yeah, he does not take personal responsibility for anything that he says, does, or where things are at in his life. So for him to say this, I just thought that it was interesting.
It did seem odd to me that he was willing to acknowledge, because to me, this is really something that needs to be highlighted, as you did, highlighted because these students, whether they were 6th, 7th, or 8th graders, boys or girls, seem to be aware that a lot of the things are in their control, which to me is a mature place to be for a child. Well, this was in 2012. That's not, that's commendable.
Yeah,
because these are children who they might have seen the Twin Towers, but they've been raised since 9/11. So this is a pretty big, I feel like this is a good step that these students recognize, like, hey, a lot of these things I can control, which is, again, pretty, I don't know where they are today, but, hat tip to these children that recognize, like, hey, I can control a lot of this and I can be a part of the solution for myself rather than looking for somebody to help me out.
And then to take personal responsibility. I think that's huge. And Umar, he's the antithesis of that.
Bless his heart. Bless his heart.
Just a couple of notes here.
Another area
Another area of interest relates to the influence of identity as a factor in academic achievement. Students, respondents provided varying racial identifiers that went from Black to African American to mixed. So he throws mixed in here too. But Umar, he tends to use African himself these days. But if you go to early Umar, 2012 and before, you'll see him using Black, African American, sometimes mixed, but not that often. But these days, he tends to stick with the African identity.
Which is weird, but I digress.
And then many students reported that having a Black teacher leads to better outcomes for them. But whether this perception can be proved quantitatively remains to be seen. I highlight this is because this is in direct contradiction to what Umar's rhetoric, because he talks about how we need these Black male teachers in the classroom because they're going to care more about the children. They're going to teach the children more. I have him on record saying things like that. But in here, he's saying he's actually contradicting himself.
And let me keep reading that. Still, there is an issue of skin tone and its role in the academic experiences of light-skinned children as opposed to dark-skinned children. I'm sorry, that is, again, I've taught white kids and the whole spectrum of Black children. No, that's not the case at all. I mean, you're adding a variable that can't be controlled for. Like you're adding something in the mix that there's no way to determine. Like I might think that I'm lighter than Lenon is. Lenon might think he's lighter than me. Like there's no way to control for that. And if I turn the light off, we'd be blacker than all of us. So there's no way to actually. To me, it's a misnomer. And again, we're teaching children this. Children are not coming up with this natively. And I know some people in the chat are not feeling that. DearWokeC@gmail.com, email management. But
You ready, huh?
oh yeah, come on, email management, man.
Yeah,
Email management, we will gladly take all of your complaints. We'll take them all your complaints. But show me proof and evidence of that fact. Because again, if that be the case, then a school, Chicago public schools should be crushing it.
Mm.
New York public schools in highly densely populated Black neighborhoods should be off the charts then, following this logic.
I see what you're saying.
But it's not true. I live here in Atlanta. I taught in Atlanta public. This is not true. So to say that, well, because you got Black teachers and that's going to be the determining factor, not who cares if the teacher is teaching worth a hill of beans? No, they're just Black and the kids need to see that. Guess what? The kids are going to see a narrative well teacher that's not doing a good job and they're going to be like, I don't want to be like that. That's the only thing they're going to learn.
Yeah.
So no, that's not the determining factor. There are other, because if that had been the case, then our grandparents would not have been able to learn because they learned from white people.
No.
And they didn't have Black teachers as robustly as we do now. So then that means your grandma and your granddad wouldn't have learned nothing. Your mom and daddy didn't know nothing. See, it doesn't work. So stop playing that game. The real reality is the fact that skin is not the issue. It's whether or not mom and dad are really making headway and really want education to be front and center in our kids' lives. That's what the problem is. Because most people, I guarantee you, if we did a poll of this super fantastic live chat right here, and if they had elementary age kids, and if I asked them to walk around their house right now and count the number of books that are in your child's sight, I guarantee it'd probably be less than 20. But you want me to believe that the reason your kid can't learn is because they don't got a Black teacher? How about the reason they can't learn is because you don't got no books in the house and they don't think the education really matters?
Or you're not checking that Chromebook, because I'll be checking my kid's Chromebook.
Well, I'm just saying, like, no, just like some old school books. Like, there's studies that show if your kids see books around the house and see you reading a newspaper, your wife reading a magazine, and there's books around the house and they have access to them, they do far better than when you have a clean slate home with a Chromebook or an Apple TV in your living room. Old school books. Just go to the little free library, go to Goodwill, pick up a whole bunch of books and spread them around your house and watch something change and be involved in it. Read with your kids. It's okay. I mean, so all of this again, and that has nothing to do with skin color. That's where we're going back to a culturalism where, you know what, reading is a big deal to us. Here at Whitaker Park, here at the Honor household, reading is a big deal. We're going to read and have some old school page turning going on in our house.
And I want to reiterate something here too, because it's skin color, but he's also talking about skin tone. And the reason why he's doing this, because Umar has these issues with colorism. When
he's a colorist.
Yeah, he is. When he says skin tone, he's talking about within the quote unquote African American or Black community. There is an issue of skin tone and its role in the academic experiences of light-skinned children as opposed to dark-skinned children. Whether or not children of lighter hue differed markedly from darker-skinned children would have been an interesting area of further discussion had a response difference been detected between the two groups. So there is no response because there is no question that addresses this. And I guess in the data collection or the research phase of this, why is Umar bringing this up then? It's totally irrelevant. But the reason why is because Umar himself has these issues with his skin color coming from his experiences coming up through his own family. And he still carries those issues to this day. And that's precisely why he's a colorist.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, this is we are, I'll just ask the question. Why do you want this to be true? Why do you want this to be the case where kids don't learn because I'm darker than Lenon is, or Lenon is lighter than Sally over here? Why do you want that to be true? That just seems like there's no way for your child to learn. And it seems like you're giving a continual hall pass for them not to be successful or not push themselves past their limit, what they think is their perceived limitation.
Or what he
perceives
like, as a, yeah.
Right. As far as I can go, oh, that's right, I'm dark. Oh, that's right, I'm or I can go really far because I'm light-skinned. Sure, we can do that, but really, is that really, why do you even want that to be true? I'd wait to hear. Like, why do you want that to be true? I say that it's false. And I'm expressing why I say that that's false. Now, we do intra-group have some colorism going on between Black folk. We do that. And I mean, sometimes it's mean-spirited and vile, and sometimes it's just some ribbing. It's just, whatever. I have a friend of mine. We joke about the fact that I went to Morehouse because I couldn't pass the brown paper bag test to go to Hampton.
Okay.
I think that's hilarious. I think it's hilarious. We joke about it all the time. And that's funny. To me, I think it's a hoot. But we know that was a standard back then. That was a standard before. That wasn't a standard when he went there at all. But my point is that. But we don't have to do that anymore. We can laugh at it and go be the CEO or something. We can laugh about it and still be successful. That doesn't have to be a limiting factor, but we want it to be. But I mean, dearwokec@gmail.com. Let me know why you want that to be true. I'd love to read why you want this to be true. But let's go.
Well, Umar definitely does. He talks a lot
for sure.
like this. Yeah. And I think that, okay, and then I just want to outline, because there are aspects of this dissertation that I appreciated. I wasn't impressed by it overwhelmingly, as I read through the whole thing, but I gave credit where I felt like it was important to give Umar credit. I encourage people to read it themselves, and you can determine, whatever your perspective may be on it. But limitations of the study, he did outline some limitations. I think this was important too. Self-report measures are subject to multiple interpretations, and he did a lot of interpreting of what these children were saying. But then he kind of flipped it, and he even though there were some things that there's a racial component, he just takes it to the extreme. He starts to infuse the ancestors. He starts to infuse white Europeans and the darkest, the Africans, and then West Africa and all this other stuff. I think that's him going far beyond the scope. But self-reporting measures are subject to multiple interpretations by different respondents. That is, each child may have interpreted questions in different ways, thus leading to differences in answers that were not accounted for in the original standardized sample. So I just want to point out that he does acknowledge limitations within his dissertation. Another thing too, and you brought this up, I think this was an important point. I don't know if you want to speak to it here. Says the Harter SPPC was published in 1985, and that's kind of like the basis upon which he kind of develops this dissertation. Did you want to speak to that?
No, let me pull it up on my end. Sorry.
Okay, because I know he does bring it up at the beginning. Let me see if I could find it.
It's way at the beginning.
Yeah, I meant to actually to address this at the beginning here.
All right. Let me find exactly where my notes. I thought I had it too. Sorry about that.
I think that way. Table 4 coefficient determinant or harder. Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I can do a search for it. Let's see if it allow me to do that.
Yeah, no problem. So while you're looking it up, he just says that basically the Harter was published in 1984, and because there were several revisions, he wasn't certain that he didn't trust the validity and the reliability of the questions for the childhood population that he was studying, and and again, being honest and transparent, saying, hey, there's some limitations to the study. I do think that that's commendable, as you said, of course, Lenon, that's something to look at and say, hey, good on you for, saying that, hey, this study could have been better. This research could have been a little bit more robust if we had known this, or we had made room for this hiccup or whatever of that nature. And I do think that's commendable. So shout out to that. Did you find the Harter?
No, I didn't find it, but it's okay. I just because Umar does acknowledge it, and I just want to give him credit for it, but I felt maybe we should explain what that is, but it's okay. Let me just look to see what else, if I highlight anything else within the limitations. And then if you have time, maybe we can take 10 questions. Would you have time for that?
Absolutely. Okay. I'm gonna have fun with that. I do want to hear what your thoughts were about the future research. So before he closes out, he gives basically, I guess the best way I could say it is like a recipe for somebody who wants to take this research further. It's on that would be the best way that I could call what I would call it, and that's on page 57.
50, okay, I'm going backwards. Okay. Oh, wait, here
Yeah.
it is right here. Oh, maybe
So,
in 57 in actual document. Okay.
yeah, in the actual document, I apologize. So if I've done research and I know that it can maybe be better, or maybe I ran out of time, I hit my word count, my page count, so I'm not going to do any more to it or whatever like that. Or I know that it could go further if somebody had more access to more resources. I would put in here the future research. So it's kind of like a roadmap. If you wanted to take this and run with it, this is how you could run the play. So future research should focus upon investigating the specific mechanisms and directions of influence that underscore the relationship between self-concept and academic achievement. To me, this is exactly what we were talking about before with the other mitigating circumstances, like having a father in the home, or, do your parents read to you? I mean, again, these are very small things that mean a whole lot. In addition, more research on the relationship between global self-worth and class and scholastic competence need to be undertaken. You're missing we got a car driving down the road with 3 wheels. You're missing the biggest thing possible. More data need to be obtained on the nature of the relationship between scholastic competence and each of the core academic skill areas, as the literature suggests that each academic area may have its own self-concept. Although the current study has found that a relationship exists between self-concept and academic achievement, as supported by previous studies, the specific nature of that relationship still has not been investigated fully. I just think that this could have been a very short yet powerful section, because it just said, find out if there's dads in the home. Just find out if there's daddies in the house. And that would have made a big difference. I don't think global concepts and self-worth are really something that a 12, 11-year-old is really thinking about. But if their dad is at home, that really means a lot. If they have a stable household, that means a lot. I mean, we have a lot of kids now who are homeless. Those are some really big factors that I think play a huge role in the advancement of children, well above necessarily their skin color or whether they pass a paper bag test. So to me, I think, again, somebody could take this and run with it and use his research and go in another direction, and I think be much more fruitful. But
okay. All right. And then let me just check one thing, because I want to make sure I got to everything that I highlighted. Let's see. Yeah, there's 3 more highlighted sections. Let me just read these real quick.
Okay.
Just because I want to make sure that I get through everything that I want to get through. So regarding the qualitative study, determine whether students' beliefs and assumptions regarding the impact of race actually could be supportive quantitatively was difficult to ascertain. In addition, the unique role that skin color, okay, here we go again, teacher effects and identity played within the varying perceptions students held in regard to the relationship between self-concept and their academic achievement would have been interesting to explore, but could not be determined from this study. And then,
you know why?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know why? Because it's subjective. It's highly subjective. So what you might perceive as racism or partiality might not be something that I perceive as the same. And it's super subjective. That's why he's saying, like, you can't quantify it, really, because it's subjective. And a lot of it is, and we're trying to make concrete decisions based upon somebody's subjective opinion on a matter, and it just doesn't work. And I think that's why it's just running on a flat tire. But go ahead.
Okay. Educators and psychologists should begin to work together to develop programs that strengthen the self-concept of these children as a factor towards achieving scholastic success. So he's saying that educators and psychologists should begin to work together. And what I thought about, the reason I highlight this is because look at what's happened with this FDMG school scam. Umar is not willing to work together to develop programs and strengthen self-concept of these children, or any children for that matter, as a factor towards achieving scholastic success. So it's in total contradiction to what Umar, we talking about in the beginning, Umar, as he presents himself, and then if we look at his dissertation, what he's kind of positing to people, it's not consistent with how Umar is operating in the real world. And then in this sense, it's hypocritical.
Right. And he's not, I mean, a lot of people saw the Lord Jamar interview, and how heated and passionate he got about he didn't want to ask for help. I went and pulled up the school that Jamar was talking about. It's really a pretty neat place. It looks good. I'm like, that looks like what you would want. Again, whether you think you got all the ducks in a row or not, it showed your blindness and really your hypocrisy, as you said right here, your hypocrisy, that you wouldn't even talk to that person. You wouldn't even honor Jamar enough to say, yeah, look, give me his number. I'll call him. I'll reach out to him at least. But you got all these people. And again, now you got egg on his face because you got all these people and all these folk that own schools, blah, 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 blah. And now you don't even own a school, sir. You about to get evicted. And you out here in your car still yelling. You out there in your car yelling when you could have been. I mean, Jamar was giving him a pretty nice leg up because the school, the Trey Whitfield school, is pretty nice and fairly reasonable too. To be in New York and their tuition, I'm like, that's some Georgia tuition. I'm like that's some Georgia tuition. Like, man, I just thought I was just scanning around checking school out, and it looks really good. And I'm like, the fact that you didn't honor that man enough to say, okay, let me reach out to him. Let me just at least hear what he's saying. Maybe he can at least tell me how to find pencils for sale or something like you. There's something I can learn from Lenon. I can learn something from him. It don't matter. Something. So why? But the fact that he displayed his whole backside and acted a pure, unadulterated fool, and now where we are, nobody feels sorry for you. Now, if he had said, hey, sure, let me reach out to him, and now he still failed, we said, well, at least he tried. But now everybody pointing to the Jamar interview saying, see, they told you he could have helped. I think Jamar went back on Vlad TV recently and dunked on him again. Yeah. Why? Because you didn't listen.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that interview was from 2020 when he interviewed Umar. And here we are, 2025.
It was a hot minute for sure.
Yeah. And then early intervention in the lives of children with poor self-concepts and those levels of self-esteem is crucial towards ensuring their success. Yes, this is true, but Umar, you're not involved in your children's lives. So anyway.
Okay. Let me pick on that real quick, and then I'm gonna promise I'm gonna stop. You know what kids feel really good about? When they feel like they're able to do something. Kids are highly aware that I did my second born has become a pretty nice chef. He's become pretty nice. I'm impressed. I'm like, man, what did you cook tonight? This is amazing. And she feels super proud. Every Sunday, she goes grocery shopping and she picks up all her little stuff. She's got her little recipes, her little Pinterest pages, all that stuff like that. And all of that is because she's found something that she's really good at. And she knows that it adds value to the household. Yeah. It adds value to the household. And she knows that she's going to have a good lunch. Her little friends are like, girl, who made that? I did. And all that stuff helps. And guess what? It ain't got nothing to do with her skin color. Amen. It has something to do with her doing a task that they find valuable. So going back here, their early intervention is actually helping them learn. Again, the kids know that they don't know the ABCs. Kids know that they can't add. But when they finally get it, when the light comes on and they finally get it, and they know that they did what they need to do to get it, and like, oh man, it's a wonderful feeling for the teacher, the mom, the dad, and of course the child. So it's not necessarily, that's what helps their self-concept, is knowing that they can overcome an obstacle. They know they can't read. They know they can't add. But then they work at it. They find a little jingle that helps them overcome it. They stay up late. They get up early and they figure it out. And they finally get over the hump. They get across the Rubicon. And they're like, man, the whole new world of learning is open up to me. That's what helps their self-concept. Not worrying about whether or not I'm black. Guess what? Little white kids have the exact same problem. Little Asians, Hispanics, little fill in the blanks have the exact same problem. They're not more advanced. They're not born on their algebraic formulas. They have to learn it too. And if we just took it seriously and said, no, we're going to help our children be successful. And again, that helps their self-concept and their self-esteem. But I digress.
No, right, spot on. I agree. Now, let me say this. You and I may not agree on everything, but I will tell you this, that when it comes to family, we right here.
Yeah, and I've heard it from you.
And the importance of family, the importance of us being there, being fathers to our children. I think that was a big missed opportunity in Umar's dissertation, but I don't think he has a framework to operate from as a father. So that being explored in his dissertation, it probably didn't even cross his mind.
Let's be honest. If his daughter had not come out and put him on blast, the vast majority of people wouldn't know he had children. It would all still be kind of like, I think he has kids. I heard he has kids, but now we know Anissa. We know who she is. But I personally, I don't think he ever planned on having this, because imagine if he was over here talking about being a father in his dissertation. And now we know, bruh,
yeah,
we would have been having a field day.
That's true. I see your point.
Right, we'd have been having a field day.
Yeah. I see your point.
So I'm actually glad he didn't, because I think that would have just been like, you giving us lobs. Man, he just lobbing them up for us, lobbing them up. We dunking all day. So, because I think he knows he's hypocritical in that regard.
Yeah.
So,
and then Umar has several pages of for his references. We don't have to look at that, but that, in a nutshell, that's what I've gathered and what you've gathered from the dissertation. Can you take 10 questions from the chat room?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, because I do have to get to Costco before they close.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, one of my daughters, she for school, she told me to get gum, and I promised to do it. I just haven't gotten around to it. So I got to get her gum.
Go get her gum,
okay.
man.
So we're going to take 10 questions out of the chat room. I'll tell you that there were people who were in the disagreement on some of your points. So
my gosh,
they may
really?
have some questions. They may have some questions for you.
Oh, my word.
Let me do this too. There's a couple of people who became that became members today. Thank you so much. User 225 says, I don't know if it's been asked, how did you, Brother Jay, find this paper? We did. You explained that in the beginning, how you came.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know. Do we want to make it available like on your? I can put it on my a Google Drive and make a link available or whatever.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And you can just send it to me, and I'll put it in the chat room. I'll pin it. I'll
drop it in there right now. Okay.
Yeah, and hopefully more people will pick this up and they'll do their own analysis of it.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna put it in there right now and send it to you in a second.
Okay, and thanks you to 225. The Tatted Espiritista. Thank you so much for the super chat. Said this critique of Umar's dissertation is coming from people without doctorates, lacking training in research design, lit review, replication, and correlational studies. Y'all can't judge.
Big words. I love that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I will say that just because I don't have a PhD doesn't mean that I can't read someone's dissertation and give my opinion.
Yeah, and that's fine if that's what you. Okay, then limit yourself then and only talk at the level that because I have a MBA, so I guess you can't critique me if you don't have an MBA.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. And I'm highly melanated, so if you're not melanated, you can't talk. I mean, we can just play this game for 2 days. We can just keep playing this game, but or we can say, hey, we can look at something and make some assessments. Sure, we don't have a doctorate, but that's okay. We can look at it and just glean from it what we understand. That's perfectly reasonable to do. So either A, we do that, or B, we can't talk unless you. And by the way, if you're not a man, I guess you can't talk about it. And if you don't have like all this great chin hair, then I guess, we can just be silly. We can just be silly, or we can just be fair and reasonable. I'm gonna be fair and reasonable.
Yeah, and I believe you have been with your analysis of this, and I know that I have been. I've always been.
Yeah, absolutely, you've been great.
All right, thanks, the Tatted Espiritista for the super chat. Ashley says Umar gives Henry the Seventh vibes, delusions of grandeur. Yes, yeah, very much.
He does.
Very much so. Thank you for the super chat. Cellular Light Podcast says Umar's dissertation is a direct one-to-one copy of one by Jerry Trusty, Richards E. Watts, and Meek Gaik Slim, dissertation January 1995. Yeah, that might be something to look into.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna drop this link to you in the private chat, so just so you have it. So I just dropped it in there so you can have it. Y'all knock it out and look at it. Okay, now this right here is wow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Shout out to you, man. Thanks for the $5 super. I'll have to look into that, man.
Yeah, I'll look into it too. I'll do
Yeah.
some more research and I'll look into it. Thank you for the super chat. This is Little Boy Blue says, can you look into his drug arrest records again? I've talked about this in terms of that documentation. That's not Umar, and I've researched this. I knew about that before anyone reported on it. And the reason why I didn't report on it because I did my due diligence and did my own research and investigation into it, and that's not Umar. Okay. And again, I've always been fair with Umar, and I don't want to misrepresent the facts. And I could have used that because a lot of people ran with that, and it would have fit perfectly with what I've been talking about Umar anyway. But I'm not going to put that on Umar if it's not factual. So I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but that wasn't Umar. Lewis Luck, what's up? Says Pan Africanism is a trick bag full of intentional misdirection that gets exclusively marketed to so-called Black Americans. There's truth to that.
Yeah, I've heard this as well. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Lewis Luck. Timothy Diamond says, I wish my father and I would have researched this guy back in 2010, meaning Umar, when we donated to him. And again, wow. Umar keeps telling people that the first time he started collecting donations was in 2014. But I've had people, and here we are with Timmy, saying that they donated to him in 2012, 2011, 2010, 2009, 2008, and the earliest I saw was 2007. So Umar, he lies about that too. And then Timmy says, it's sad that he utilizes our desire to see a better education system to fill his pockets. Yeah. Very well said. Thank you, Timmy. Here for Boxing says, I speak for 95% of the chat. His time is up. Yeah, Umar, we're going to see what happens because he has a way of coming back and reinventing or taking a different approach to keep things going. And I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to keep this up, but he's in really bad shape. Would you agree with that, Jay?
Oh, I don't know how. I'm with here for Boxing. I think this might be the end of the saga. Now, I do understand because I've talked to you and I've heard others who are talking about the reinvent. I just don't understand because so much of his grift is charity based. People got to donate. I just don't see how after this, because again, if you just do Umar search on YouTube, do a Google search of it. The amount of people, the new people calling him out is staggering. And the names are getting bigger and the platforms are getting more robust. I don't know how he pulls this off. Now, I'm sure anything could happen, so I'm never going to say there's no way possible, but I can see here, and I think that was a well-spent $2 super. I agree. I think this is probably the end of the saga. Now, I don't know what he's going to do, but I don't think this, I think that building's going to get secure, it's going to be taken. People are really going to become like, where's your bank accounts? All that kind of stuff. Because something else people don't realize is a lion's share of the information they know about Umar comes from Umar.
Yeah.
So bank accounts frozen, vandalism, all that stuff. All that stuff comes from Umar. Now, you and others, KKC, have done a yeoman's work at exposing a lot of the behind the office things, bills and tax deeds and all that kind of stuff like that. But a lot of the bad things that we know about Umar really come from Umar. So a lot of the stuff you don't know, we don't have independent verification on these things. So I can understand that.
Okay. Thanks here for Boxing. User 225 says, joining late. What's the consensus on this paper? Yeah, we've given, I'm sure you've got caught up on that by now because we've talked about that throughout. Thank you for super chat. Bass Blue says, the research doesn't support your guest. The research doesn't support your guest. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what they mean by that.
Maybe something I said, they feel like research disagrees with what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I can rock with it.
On the mic with Terrence Bailey says, Dr. Clay wants to come on and dispute this dissertation. It's a draft, not the actual one. Where's the signature page? Please bring on Dr. Clay. Yeah, well, let me show you again on the actual document that we have at the top of it. And Umar has shown the signature, and I can actually pull that up too. He's shown that in the past, so that does exist. This is from the PCOM library. So let's go back just to the I think the first 2 pages should be enough. So if we look right here, PCOM library, you guys can probably, if you use Umar's name that he has here, you could probably get this yourself.
And I did drop the link in your to you as well.
Yeah. I'll put it inside the chat room as well. So if anyone wants to download it, and then what I'll do is when this live stream is over with, I'll actually post it in the comment section and I'll pin it to the top. Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, Department of Psychology, the relationship between self-concept and academic achievements, African-American middle school students, a correlational study. And then you guys will have, if you do contact PCOM, you have to give this specific name, by Umar R. Abdullah Johnson. R is Rashad. Okay,
Rashad.
Umar Rashad Ibn Abdullah Johnson. And then this says submitted in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Psychology, June 2012. So this is what he actually submitted. All right. Now, in terms of signatures, Umar did show this dissertation, and I can pull up the video and he shows it. He does it in a sneaky way, though. I have to say that. One other thing I want to mention, too, with this dissertation is that it's June 2012. Umar doesn't get awarded his PsyD until 2014.
Yep.
Something for people to think about. Okay. Okay. Thank you. That was from Terrence. Where did it go? Hold on one second. Yeah, that was from Terrence, brother Terrence. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, we're not going to have time to get other people on either because I got to get to Costco. Okay. Thank you for the super chat. Crystal became a member. Thank you so much, Crystal. Abdul Latif says definition: a charlatan is a person who falsely claims to have special knowledge, skill, or qualifications, usually to deceive or take advantage. Well, that's Umar. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he still claims to be a school psychologist in 2025. He hasn't worked in the field. He doesn't even have a certification to be a school psychologist. Yeah.
What's up, Yellow Man? Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Seems like they gave him a doc to get rid of him. Well, Umar does say, I'll just say this briefly, that he had to fight for it.
That's hilarious.
He actually, in essence, he threatened them because he said he was going to expose them because of racism and all this other stuff. And he kind of plays it off as if it's a joke. And then they say they finally gave it to me. Okay. So there might be some truth to that, Yellow Man.
It could be. That's hilarious.
Yeah. User 225 says, we all the same color when it comes to stop. Drew says, why does he assume black teachers aren't qualified in black? Okay, I think this is a question for you. Why do you assume that black? I don't know if you've assumed that, but why do you assume that black teachers aren't qualified in black?
No, sir. Mm-hmm. I did not say that. No, I said you can have an unqualified black person and that person will not be any more effective. No, I did not say that all black teachers are unqualified. For crying out loud, I was a black teacher. I was fairly decent, for crying out loud. No, I did not say that.
Okay.
So we can move on. I didn't say that, Drew. Now, maybe if you misunderstood me, I was saying qualifications matter more than skin. How about that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. All right, thank you, Drew, for super chat. Thoughtful Thread says, what JWhit is saying is wrong and harmful. Okay, but you gotta tell us what he said so that he can
say a lot of stuff, man. My gosh, now I'm wrong and harmful. Oh, my word. Okay.
All right. Dr. Clay, what's up, says, this is a draft. Where is the signature page? Yeah, I can actually pull up where Umar shows it. Matter of fact, once we get to the other questions and you can kind of talk, address those, I'll go and pull that up and see if I can find it. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Clay, for the super chat. The Little Gaming Channel says, I'm late to the stream. Did we find his PhD? Is something about him real? Umar did post his, no, he never did. I don't think I have his PsyD. I don't have that. I have his, what do I have of it? No, I don't have his double major. I have 2 of his masters. Maybe it's 3 of his masters. I don't think if I have his PsyD.
I don't think I've seen you with it.
Yeah, I have 3. He's shown 3 and different names on each one of them. Anyway, in terms of finding an actual copy of his PsyD, in terms of the degree, I don't think I have that. I don't think he's ever shown that. He may have, though. I'm going to go look. I'll take a look at once we get to a question specifically for you, Brother Jay, and I'll take some time to look. Thank you, the Little Gaming Channel, for the super chat.
Little Gaming Channel.
Yeah, Dr. Hoaxon says your chat shooting at your guest and Umar at the same time. Yeah, that happens. But
I guess it happens,
Brother Jay, he can handle his he can handle it.
I mean, y'all welcome email management, man. Let me know. dearwoc@gmail.com. Feel free. If I'm wrong, let me know, please.
All right. And this is the JWhit podcast too. If you guys want to
check that over there.
He ready for it.
I'm a big boy.
All right. And then Thanks, Dr. Hoaxon, for the super chat. Thoughtful
Yeah, I like
says, sociology PhD here. JWhit is as wrong as Umar. Okay, but you got to say how so though, so that he can respond.
Yeah,
Okay?
so I can get better. Now help me. Hey, tell me what I said that was incorrect. I will gladly learn and say thank you so much.
Okay.
But just to say, hey, I'm a sociology PhD and JWhit is wrong, I can say that I'm a black man with a good chin crown and you're wrong. There you go. See, exact same thing.
All right. Okay, thank you
real.
for super chat. Dr. Hoaxon says, do not take questions, then let him go. No, we'll take 5 questions. We're going to take 5
Hoaxon,
questions.
that hurts.
All right. It's all good.
That hurts, man. It hurts.
Okay. So, and thank you for the super chat. If you have a question for Brother Jay, now's the time. Put question in all caps and then type in your question. And we only have time for about 5. So let's do this
let's go.
now inside the chat room. And then in the meantime, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go try to see if I could find the video where Umar shows the signatures on his. Let me see. Let me see if I can find this. And it would have to be after 2019. Here's a question from user. Yeah, here's a question from user 225. And this is for you to answer. Okay. So, do you think that Umar Johnson is going to respond to this or no?
I don't think so. I think Umar is going to probably rest on his laurels that he has a PhD. Finally got my dissertation and looking at the dissertation, I'm gonna leave that alone. And I mean, he's going to have a world of hurt by the end of the month when those properties are seized. So I think that's going to probably be his biggest thing, his biggest concern. And I don't know how he's going to move past that, because I don't think his biggest concern right now is whether or not YouTubians are looking at his dissertation.
the YouTube and struggle streamers.
Well, I'm gonna say struggle streamers because you look like you're in a pretty nice facility while you're streaming. I feel like so hey, I'm YouTubian, absolutely. You don't look like you're struggling. I'm not struggling. We're also not in our cars yelling at the top of our lungs or standing outside, shooting away crackheads. I don't know who's struggling, Umar. I think it might be you, my guy.
Real talk. Thank you, user 225. Okay, we're gonna take 4 other questions. Someone said, "Chat, be respectful of the guests." Yeah, I'm very big on that.
It's all good. Okay? Yeah, we are adults.
I'm very big on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see. And I'm still looking for. And I know the video that I'm looking for because Umar he was sitting. I think it was in his mama's closet, but before he put up the backdrop. But there was like this. It's a circular portrait. And it has an image of like an African leader or something like that. And that's the video where he actually pulls it out and he shows it to people. And I'm still looking for it. I'll keep looking. Okay.
Click on Sell Your Light. Sell You Light podcast. Ask a question.
Okay, let me see. I'm trying to see if there's any questions. Okay, here we go. How can we contact you, JWhit?
DearWokeC@gmail.com. Let me see if it'll let me populate it. I just dropped my email in the chat. Show me an email. Oh, it's not showing up. Here, I'll type it again. I don't know. For some reason, not let me type.
Yeah, they may be just because of the filter.
Activity.
What I'll do is I'll pin a link to the download inside the comment section, but then I'll also include a link to your YouTube page, and then I'll include a link to your email. Okay.
Appreciate it.
I'm trying to see questions.
I am Essence.
Yeah, people are saying Lenon, don't miss Costco. Yeah, I think what time does it close? I thought it closes at
I don't know, brother.
30. Okay.
I am Essence ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead. Can you read it?
Because he says, do you think his rant triggered the state? Okay, this is, tinfoil hats activated. I personally think he already knew that he was in trouble when he did the whole bank accounts are frozen stream. But I just don't believe that the city and the town of Wilmington didn't communicate at all until they nailed something on the door. I think they did communicate. Now, I think a better question is, where's the money been? Where's the money at? How much money does he have? I don't know that part. But I think he was trying to get ahead of knowing that he wasn't going to be able to satisfy the 30,000, 40,000, 70,000, whatever the number is. And he said, let me go ahead and put this out here now, chum the waters that they frozen my accounts. And again, if you go back and listen to the froze my account video, it makes no sense. Yeah. He's saying that they said the accounts don't exist, then they froze it, then they seized it, and now it's, I mean, there's just a lot of different phraseologies that don't make sense. And most people, if you've had a problem with your account, it didn't go like this. So now that we know that he owed all this extra and all this stuff in the back going on in the background, it does make sense that that's what was happening. So I don't think this triggered I don't think his rant triggered any of the unfortunate events that he's experienced. I think his dirty dealings for however long are what has brought him to this place. It's not the struggle streamers. It's not, the man. It's not anybody else. It is him and his inability to do his business. But let's just be honest. Who's this team he's talking about?
There is no team.
Right. So.
Okay. We'll take 3 more questions.
Shout out to him.
Let's see. Question. Do you think Umar, with his studies into psychology, purposely targets underdeveloped communities knowingly?
Yes. Because I think because they have the greater need. Usually they have some issue that, whether it be fatherlessness or some other issue that is impacting their children. And it's a whole lot easier to say, hey, I got a solution for you. Somebody called him a snake oil salesman in the chat earlier. It's easier for a snake oil salesman to sell snake oil to somebody who has an obvious issue versus somebody who's healthy and whole. So yeah, I do think he's reaching out to these communities, but I would love to know, what is he doing in that community that those buildings are right now? What is he doing around there to add value in that community? I mean, there's a girls and boys club down the street from him, but what is he doing?
Yeah.
To add value in that immediate area, not abroad, not, all these places that he's traveling, but just right there in that area. I would love to know and see, what are you doing there? Right.
Yeah. Just a point of clarification. Someone brought this up. It's a PsyD, not a PhD. Yeah, you're right about that. And I found the video too. Yeah, I found the video. I'm going to pull that up and we'll close out in just a moment. Real quick, thank you for saying this, Erica. People were rude to the guests tonight. Now other guests won't come on in the field. I'm going to tell you right now, this brother, he can handle it. Okay, he's a real man.
I appreciate you, Erica.
Family man. He take care of his business with his family. We were talking about that's why he was talking about the socks. We ain't gonna get into that though. So and again, we don't agree on everything, but I have respect, and I know the chat room be getting crazy. That's the Cookie Crush chat, but we got to respect the guests because we want people to feel comfortable coming on. I want in the future, if you want to come back on, even if we want to come on and have people ask you more questions, I want people to feel comfortable to do that. So Cookie Crush chat, come on, let's be nicer. Okay, all right.
We'll do a live stream of the courthouse sale when the
yeah.
I've been looking like, bro, that chat would be insane. That live stream would be crazy to watch the buildings get sold. Oh, that'd be crazy.
That'd be wild. Here's a great question from Dr. Clay.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So why did Umar write a 100? And so this is for you. Why? Let me phrase it this way. Why do you think Umar wrote a 150-page plus book with no reference section?
Well, being the fact that it's Dr. Clay, and Dr. Clay has already kind of chummed the waters that there might be some cutting and pasting action going on in Umar's life, I got a bad feeling that I'm going to go with plagiarism for 200. I'm going to go with there's probably some cut and paste behavior going on, but I didn't know this. This is something I'm learning right here. That he wrote that book and no reference pages. I didn't read his book, but interesting. What do you think?
I think that it's because Umar's not scholarly and he's lazy. That's what I think. I think Umar, and for him, it's a money grab. So he figures, let me just throw something together, and you ain't got to do no reference. You don't got to do no real research. It's just basically all opinion based. And he throws that out there. He sells the books anywhere from $40 to $60 a book.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Wow. Why does he not? I don't see him pushing that book. I would be pushing that book all the time.
Well, the thing is that he has two. Okay, and so that when times get rough, he'll go print some out. He'll get some.
Boy, you out of control.
he'll go to
So
get
print 'em out.
Kinko's. No, I'm just playing. He'll print
Not
some out.
Kinko run.
Yeah, I'm just playing. I shouldn't do him like that. Okay.
That's
Okay,
wild.
we're gonna take one more question out the chat room. Someone said, well, and it's always this guy, then he would tell, what are your thoughts on bunnies? But you ain't got to answer that one.
I don't have a thought on them.
Here's a See Your Light podcast. Says, question, do you think Umar, with his studies into psychology, purposely targets...
Oh, yeah, we said that
got
already.
Okay.
Yeah, you got that one right.
Thank you. Let me just see if I can find one more. And then I got a video to show you guys, and then we'll be out of here. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other questions specific.
They said activate the book hustle.
Huh? What was that?
Somebody said he only activates the book hustle when money gets tight. That is wild.
Okay, here's the final question right here. I just scrolled down to the bottom. Question, after reading Mind Control 101, it would seem Umar is using neurolinguistic programming. Is this a fair assumption? Is that beyond the scope for you?
No, that's definitely outside of my wheelhouse. Just going by looking at the name of the book, like, okay, I can see where you're going. I don't know anything about neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah,
I can see it. Well, yeah. You know, because a lot of people mention about how he speaks. You know, maybe that's part of it. That triple speak, that kind of stuff like that. You know, hey, it is very possible that might be part of it, because I've seen him talk and he talks normal. And I hate to say this, but he kind of reminds me of like a black preacher that, you know, they're talking normal, and toward the end they get hyped up, and that's when the heavy breathing and the cadence changes. And I've seen him, he's just a normal dude, no triple speak, none of that stuff. And then slowly but surely gets ramped up. And next thing you know, the triple speaking and the heavy breathing, all that stuff kind of introduces itself into the chat. So it could be a linguistic, like a mind control thing.
Yeah, it could be. And then one last thing, I just want to get your opinion before I pull this last video up. Someone that asks, is FDMG still coming? In your opinion, do you think, I'm just asking because that's someone asked, do you think that at any point in the future, near or far, that Umar will open up a functional school?
No. I mean, there's just too many, just on a logistics. I mean, if you think about it, if you're a parent and you have an elementary school age child, just one day, just step back and look how many adults there are in that building, how many kids there are in that building. I mean, for crying out loud, how many hallways and cafeteria workers? There's a lot of, this is not a small undertaking. Yeah. I mean, that's why they, you know, some principals leave from there and go run companies. And you're like, well, how do they get to run a company that's 200 people? Have you ever looked at how many people were in this doggone school? There's a lot of folk in there and a lot of things to manage. There's no way. Not from where he is now, because you're going to have to unplug from all that stuff and start something small like an after school program, start something small like a weekend or a summer camp to really build up momentum. Like, even if the school opened up today, if they got the certificate of occupancy, the school year has already started. People have already assigned their kids to where they're going. Right. Who's going to run over there to this new school? How are you going to market it? There's just too much. I mean, you know, the rumor is that it's going to be like $1 million plus. It's probably $2 or $3 million just to run a regular elementary school with 1,000 kids. Yep. A lot of money. Yeah. A lot.
And he can't even afford to get, and he hasn't paid these bills at this point. I mean, there's no way. It doesn't even make sense. Okay, so I have the video. I want to play it. If you can just hold, I just want to if you want to comment on this too. So real quick, Sire Tice says, thank you for hosting JWhit. Okay, you're welcome.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man.
Pleasure. I enjoyed having him. I didn't realize I was already subscribed to him. Well-informed brother, salute. And then they say LenonHonor. Okay.
All right. Grace and peace. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you guys enjoyed this brother, make sure you give him some love inside the chat room. He took time out of his busy schedule. He's a family man to come on. Make sure you give him some love inside the chat room. And after this is archived, I'll make sure I'll put inside of the comment section, I'll put a link to your YouTube page. I'll put a link to the dissertation to download. And then I'll put a link. What was the third thing?
It was just I thought it was was it the signature page? You're about to show the signature page.
Oh yeah, I'm about to show that right now. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's just those two things then.
Okay. All right. So here it is right here. Let's take a look.
Let me deal with something real quick here. Give me 2 minutes for my callers.
I think this is where he goes at Dr. Clay or Brother Terrence in this right this. And I think, let's see.
Deal with this Terrence Bailey, Frederick Douglass bullshit that I've been going through. Some of you guys are aware that one of my trolls is Terrence Bailey, who apparently seems to be some sort of distant cousin of mine. I don't claim his ass though. Okay, I don't claim him at all. But I just want to say that Terrence Bailey has been claiming that Dr. Umar Johnson is not a relative of Frederick Douglass. Well, how did Terrence Bailey get my phone number? You want to know how Terrence Bailey got my phone number? Because he called.
No, because you tell because you give
all the time.
All the time, Umar. Let's see him live. Here he go. Yeah,
wait,
go ahead.
Hold on. I think the only phone number that's more popular is like that Morris Day 777-9311. I think that's the only number. Or was it 8675309? Those are the only two phone numbers that are probably more popular than Umar's because he says it all the time.
He sure does.
And Lord knows he said it 3 times every time he say it.
Yeah, let's see what how he lies. Okay, here we go.
But I just want to say that Terrence Bailey has been claiming that Dr. Umar Johnson is not a relative of Frederick Douglass. Well, how did Terrence Bailey get my phone number? You want to know how Terrence Bailey got my phone number? Because he called one of the members of the Bailey Casson family executive committee, for lack of a better word. And she sent me an inbox saying that we have a cousin who wants to talk to you by the name of Terrence Bailey. She sent me an inbox on Facebook, okay? Relatives, okay? Because I don't call them family. I'm going to call them relatives. Family is family. These are just relatives, okay? And so I called him up and we spoke on the phone. This was a couple months ago. And he was calling me for Ken Norris, someone else who claims to be a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass. Now, for the record, those of you who know me, you know that I have never claimed to be a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass. I have never claimed that. I am a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass's first cousin and half brother by the name of Stephen Henry Bailey, my 4 times great grandfather, who happens to be the same Stephen that Frederick talks about in his autobiographies. When Frederick Douglass talks about growing up with cousin Stephen, that's my 4 times great grandfather. Terrence Bailey knows this shit because my name is on the Bailey family tree. How did my name get on the tree? Why was I allowed to go to family reunions? Why do I get a letter every other year inviting me to family reunions? Okay, so that whole that whole Terrence Bailey thing is just a bunch of hate shit. It's a bunch of hate shit. Okay, and I think it's coming from the fact that when people think of Frederick Douglass, they don't think of him. When people think of Frederick Douglass, they don't think of Ken Morris. When people think of Frederick Douglass, they don't think of all the tens of thousands of descendants of Isaac and Betsy Bailey. They think of me. They think of me. So there's jealousy within my relatives, okay, that is bringing this forth of hatred forward that Terrence Bailey had. I don't know this Negro. I never met him. So I'm sure he's a distant relative because his last name is Bailey. Bailey is the family name. I want y'all to understand something. None of us have no exclusive relationship to Frederick Douglass. There's thousands of us. Isaac and Betsy Bailey had over a dozen children. You understand? I come through one of their children named Betsy. Frederick comes through one of their children named Harriet. And then they had other children. I'm not a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass, but I'm a direct descendant of his cousin and half brother who.
Well, then why don't you name the school after the cousin and half brother, Umar? Let me stop.
He grew up with.
That's a good catch.
Okay. I'm not a relative of Frederick Douglass by marriage. I'm a relative of Frederick Douglass by blood. By blood. You understand? The blood that ran in Frederick Douglass' veins runs in my veins. Bailey family. Certified Bailey family. Okay? So that Terrence Belly shit, I'm gonna leave that alone. I just wanted to clarify that because I know some of y'all needed me to answer that. Okay? So the next time he start his shit, just ask him a real simple question. Real simple. Is Umar Johnson and Frederick Douglass both descendants of Isaac and Betsy Belly? That's it. No more conversation. Is Umar Johnson?
But that's not what you say, Umar. You don't go around saying I'm a descendant of. Yeah, and by the way, his daddy took a DNA test, and there's no blood relation.
And Frederick Douglass, are they both descendants of Isaac and Betsy Belly? That's it. That's the only question you need for his bitch ass. Excuse my French.
Wow.
I want to show you guys something.
Here we
Appreciate
go.
that. Before I take the next call, this right here is one of the books of our family. If you see that, genealogy
I have that book. I have a hard copy, not the Kinko version, Umar.
and history of Stephen Bailey, descendant of Isaac.
Kinko version is crazy.
Okay, and Betsy. Y'all see that? Okay. And then here's my 4 times great-grandfather, Stephen. This is my 4 times. This is the man that Frederick Douglass grew up with, the cousin Stephen that he talks about. Okay. That's my 4 times great-grandfather. You know, I shouldn't have to go through this. My 4 times great-grandmother, Caroline Wilson Bailey. They was both born into slavery. Grandpa, grandma, you understand? I don't like playing these sucker games. Okay. And then
What is it?
Frederick
Why is he-
Douglass on their 50th wedding anniversary. On their 50th wedding anniversary, he gave them a Bible. Frederick Douglass on their 50th wedding anniversary.
Okay, Umar. I'm wondering, maybe this is the wrong video. Listen.
Gave his cousin and half brother a Bible with the names of all their children in it. Okay, this was in the Bible that Frederick Douglass gave them on their 50th wedding anniversary. And as you can see, the first child is where we at? Okay, George Washington Bailey. Okay, here we go. George Washington Bailey, that's my 3 times great-grandfather, first black public school teacher in Talbot County, Maryland. Okay. 1841, he was born. Okay. 1841, I got my family tree on the wall right there. I don't like going through it. One more thing while we at it, before I go to the next call. I don't have a doctorate degree, right? I don't have a doctorate degree, right? Right? This right here is my doctoral dissertation. Okay, Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. You see that, right? Umar Johnson, PsyD, Doctor of Psychology. You see the date, right? What that say? June of 2012, right? I ain't got no doctorate, right? Here we go right here. Okay, hold on. The signature page, right? It ain't official unless you got the signatures, right?
All right, so there you have it. It looks legit. You know, I try to give Umar credit for it. So, so, you know.
Why don't we have a signature page on ours?
Yeah, I know. That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I wonder, if you wanted to, maybe you want to contact whoever or email them back.
I'm literally thinking I might ask them back, like, hey, I didn't get a signature page.
Yeah. Ask them and then let me know. That would be really good information right there. That's interesting.
I'm gonna send it in the morning, but I'm gonna put it together right now. But no, I mean, you know, shout out to him. It looks like what we have here. I don't know what the kerfuffle was. I guess because we didn't have the signature page. So okay, we'll work to work on.
And it also says October. Looks like 13th or 18th, and then 2011 though.
I wonder what happened.
Yeah, something's not right.
All right,
doesn't it look like 2011? It doesn't say 2012.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Maybe that's when he, I don't know, maybe defended it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you want to ask that too. If you know,
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out.
Yeah. Again, Umar, he's shady, so ain't no telling. Look at him.
Bless his heart. Bless his heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, brother, thank you so much.
Brother Polite signed it. Y'all wild.
Oh no. Y'all don't do
Brother
that.
Polite signed it. Y'all are wild, man. The CCC is crazy, man.
Yeah, it is. Brother, thank you so much
For sure, man. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Please give us your social media again for anyone who may want to come over and subscribe.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm Jason over at the JWhit podcast. You can find me on YouTube, JWhit podcast, on TikTok as well. I'm not as active over there, but I'm over there as well as Instagram. And I'm Mr. JWhit actually on Twitter. But the logos are the same on all of them. But man, thank you so much, Lenon. This was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate the chat. Y'all are super. This is great. Now, I call my chat the best live chat on the internet, but you definitely gave us a run for our money over there. So yeah, thank you so much for this, man. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, much respect to you and to the family.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. Thank you, man. Take care, friend. Grace and peace. Take care.
All right. All right. And there you have it. Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning on in. I got to run to Costco like one right now. Someone did say that they sign it before they publish it. So that may be it. Maybe it was signed in 2011, but it wasn't published until 2012. Okay. So that may be it right there. Thank you to the person who gave that clarification. Thank you guys again for tuning on in. Tomorrow, I won't be live streaming, but I have a video that's dropping for members only, which it's an hour. It's about an hour-long video. I ain't gonna, y'all will see. Okay. And then I have a short video for everyone else who's not a member it's going to go live tomorrow as well. It'll be back to back the way that I have it set up. So look forward to that. And then my goal is to have 2 more videos uploaded on Saturday and Sunday. And then like we normally do, we'll get back together on Monday for a live stream. Okay, that'll be the plan. Thank you guys again for tuning on. And we started a quick question. The poll question real quick was, have you read Umar Johnson's dissertation? We had 4,219 votes. 5%, only 5% said yes, and 95% said no. So this is information that most people have not seen or have not read. So I want to thank Brother Jay for sharing this with me and sharing it with the Cookie Crush chat, and hopefully other people will pick this up and give their analysis of it as well moving forward. Let me go ahead and end that poll. Thank you guys, everyone inside the Cookie Crush chat, for tuning on in. There was a couple of super chats that came through. Let me get to these real quick. How's it going, Dr. and Miss Phoebes? Says Umar Johnson lies so constantly and so reverently year in and year out. Is that some kind of pathological issue? I think it is. I think that Umar is he's a pathological liar, right? And it's all based upon spinning narratives. He lives in a fantasy land, so he will say things that fit his fantasy reality. So as an example, and you've been around you one of the old OGs, okay? You've been around for a very long time. Thank you for the super chat. As an example, when Umar tells a story about how he thought that someone was trying to access his bank account, okay, he's spinning a narrative. Well, that's pathological lying. See? And then he just keeps going with it. And then he says it might have been Lenon, and then he keeps going with it. Then he says it was me. I ain't got nothing to do with none of that. Okay, that's a lie. But he keeps building the story up. But the reason why, because he wants to paint a narrative about what? Not about the bank accounts, not about Lenon or about me. He wants to paint the narrative because he knows that information is going to be coming out, and it has now, that these buildings are, that very soon now, if he doesn't come up with this $33,000, however much it was, that by the 25th of this month, that the city is going to seize these properties and put them up for auction as a sheriff's sale. So what Umar does, it's a pathological issue. It's a mental health issue, is in order to fit that narrative or fit that reality that he's concocted in his mind. He's truly delusional. He has to paint this narrative. He does that by lying over and over and over again. And then if we look at and if we track it over time, it doesn't make any sense. Then he says that the bank account was frozen, that he said it didn't exist, and he said it was frozen, and then he said it was canceled, and he was waiting for the check, and then he just and here we go, more and more lies. But why does he do this? Well, he's doing it because he's trying to paint this narrative to set up in advance to get out ahead of what I reported on last Friday and broke the story where, yeah, he may be losing these buildings very soon. So that's a mental health issue, because a normal person would simply say, okay, this is what it is, and let me come forward to the people and explain to them what's going on. But Umar, he starts to paint these narratives because he lives in this delusional world. He starts to blame the city. He says it's the bank. They're persecuting him and sabotaging him. He says the city, it's racism, this type of thing. But that fits with the narrative, or that fits with the Umar's delusional thinking and how he perceives things. That's a mental health issue. So absolutely. Thank you, Dr. and Mrs. Phoebes, for the super chat. Mind Chaos Bruce says, gentlemen, this was good. If you cause emotional reactions, you are really making people think. Yeah, I agree. And hey, listen, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. We want people to think. All right. And I'm grateful that the brother decided to. He's a family man. We were talking before, and the reason why we brought up socks earlier was we was laughing about them before we started, and that's one of the ways I relate to him, because he's a father. He's the real deal. I was telling before we started, my children, they were washing clothes, and so I had to run up the run to the stairs and yell up to my son to turn off the washer and dryer. And so when I came back, I said, "Yeah, they're trying to wash clothes. They always do that to me right before I start the show." He started laughing. He's like, "Yeah, I understand." So that's why he brought up the socks thing. Anyway, for him to take the time to come and spend his time with us today is admirable, and he should be thanked for that more than anything else. So thank you, Mind Chaos, for that, and shout out to Brother Jay. All right, and then Giannis says, "Can you guys talk about Umar demonizing autism?" Yeah, we've already got the brother off, but we've talked about that in the past. In the future, we can get into that again. Thank you, Giannis. I got to leave here in like 3 minutes. Lewis Suck says, "I don't have a question, but a statement. Umar isn't alone in his grift, using the slave and suffrage narratives and forced Africanization centered around perpetual victimhood, and I'm sick of it." I totally agree. The thing is that, yeah, there is racism. Yes, we have to deal with it day by day. Are there times where we are persecuted because of the color of our skin? Yes. Okay, but under normal circumstances, our afflictions as a group of people, it's usually happening based upon when we're dealing with because of proximity, we're dealing with other Black folk, if you will, African American folk. But what tends to happen is that reality, because it does happen, it's blown out of proportion, and that's what I have a problem with. And Umar does that. It's this narrative about how we're the perpetual victims. And if you look at Umar in his own life, he also presents himself as a perpetual victim. I'm persecuting him. The Cookie Crush chat, Lene, the bank, the city of Wilmington, the state of Delaware, the list goes on and on and on. Well, that fits within the narrative that he kind of spins when it comes to quote unquote race relations. Which is something I recognize. We do have issues here in the United States of America, but to overstate that, I think that's problematic. And to exaggerate that, I think that is problematic. Thanks to us for Super Chat. Bolden says, "I pre-ordered one of Umar's book over a decade ago and still haven't received it." There's a lot of people who have this testimony where they ordered books from Umar and they never received it. Over the years, I've seen so many people say that, and I'm not surprised because he doesn't have no basic business. Okay. Thanks, Bolden, the closer. Luna says, "Umar is so blasphemous." He really is, and he's so mean too. He's going on Terrence. Listen, Terrence is speaking out on behalf of the true family members and descendants of Frederick Douglass, which is an honorable thing to do. But Umar, he spins this narrative about how Terrence wants all the attention. Terrence, he's not that type of person. He's not that type of person at all. In fact, he don't until more recently. It's not like he was trying to how is he trying to get attention if he's not even talking about Umar for months and potentially years? No, that wasn't the case at all. See, but Umar wants to spin that narrative. But that, like I said, boy, he out there. Thanks, Luna, for a super chat. Frederick became a member. Thank you so much. I got to do these quick. Franklin says, "Umar sold his chain for a Happy Meal." Y'all stop. Thank you. Miranda says, "Missed a lot, but we'll catch the replay." See you on Monday. Thank you so much, Miranda, for the super chat. Thank you for tuning in. What's up, SH Play says, "You're on the roll, Lenon. Get some rest and pick it up on Monday." Yeah, I know. That's right. I need me some rest. That's for sure. You guys could probably tell, huh? Yeah. All right. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. La Holmes became a member. Thank you so much. And I Am Essence became a member. Thank you so much. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. We will be back with another live stream on Monday, unless Umar does something. Okay. Because I normally don't live stream during the weekend, but last weekend I had to. And if he does something that's we got to get to it, we'll throw an emergency live stream. It could be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I've already told you guys what the plan is for the rest of this week. And then Monday for sure, we'll be back with another live stream. I want to thank you guys so much. And again, thanks again to Brother Jay for coming on to the show today. His YouTube page is now called the JWhit podcast. So if you're interested in subscribing, go on ahead on over and subscribe. All right. Thank you guys again. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all soon. All right. Take care. Peace.